Do it. The movie you're making me watch today is still in theaters. 2022 Barbarian, directorial debut of some guy named like Sean Garrett or something.
Zach Cregger.
That's right.
And it's kind of his
Sean
directorial
Garrett, Zach
debut. It's
Cregger.
his
That's pretty close. It's an
first
anagram.
solo directing, because he directed a movie called Miss March he's for the Whitest Kid You Know fame. So he co-directed a movie with one of the other Whitest Kid You Know.
I don't know the white kids. Who are the white kids?
He's a big actor too.
Sketch comedy group from like the 2000s era. I think they're like Canadian or something. I knew about it, but I never really watched it.
You're thinking of Seth Rogen.
Kids in the Hall.
Oh yeah, that's right. Are Canadians just funnier than Americans?
Yeah, big time. Nicer, funnier.
Sketch comedy, I guess. Canadians are better at sketch comedy.
Whoa! That's a pretty broad statement. Have you seen the Chappelle Show? Have you seen Key and Peele?
They're Canadian.
Have you seen? No, they're not. Have you seen SNL? Have you seen?
Yeah, but half of SNL is Canadian.
I know. A good point is you.
No,
all right.
Half of SNL is not Canadian. Those are not facts.
All the good ones are Canadian.
Name 3 good Canadians from SNL.
Dana Carvey, Mike Myers, Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald is Canadian?
I'm pretty sure Norm Macdonald's Canadian.
He's not.
I'm like 90% sure he was Canadian.
In Living
Somebody
Color.
Googleized that.
Yeah, in Living Color was the other one I was going to say. I
But
forgot
the best
what it was.
guy in that, Jim Carrey,
is
Canadian.
Idiot.
Oh, shit.
Got
I'm telling you. The best are Canadian. You don't know
Probably.
shit about comedy,
the best
dude.
stand-up? You don't. What do you mean? I'm the funniest guy you
best,
ever met.
Sketch comedy.
You're
You
like
been paying
the
attention?
third funniest guy I ever met. I'm
I
saying
think I'm
sketch.
second,
I'm not saying sketch. I'm saying.
alter ego.
Did I say sketch or did I say improv?
You said sketch.
He said sketch.
You said sketch because you're kind of sketch overall.
A little bit improv, maybe.
You're a little bit of Justin Long type of guy in real life, you know.
But still, sketch comedy. No, improv. Let's go improv. How about that? Best improv.
I mean, I don't
Greg
agree
Proops.
with you, but we can argue it. This is the thing.
I just made a great point.
I don't disagree with you, I guess, but we'd have to have a deeper argument. Like we'd have to compare all the great sketch comedians and see how many were actually Canadian. If it's like 5
all
out of
we
20,
can think
then
of right now
you
is
lose.
Canadians. So
no, I just named a bunch that aren't.
Should we
you
go
just
through the
named
list?
4, and one of them was Canadian.
Jordan Peele,
Not
Canadian.
but sketch comedian and an
Sketch
inspiration for
Canadian.
the film that we were talking about today.
Which
well,
is
he wasn't inspiration. He just watched
Barbarian.
it first.
No, he was one of the inspiration. Like I listened to an interview with Cregger, and he was saying Jordan Peele,
They're
Sam
friends.
Raimi, and Takashi Miike were kind of like who he was like channeling in this film.
Yeah, but this movie's nothing like any of Jordan Peele's movies. The
He's
tone
also
is
good
a little
friends with
different.
Jordan Peele.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Jordan Peele was the first person to see the first cut of this movie.
I think there's
FP to see the FC.
some similarities to Jordan Peele movies.
I guess this is more of a Tarantino-esque script.
Tarantino.
Yeah, with the
Yeah,
way he
maybe.
jumps the timelines and doesn't do it linearly.
Okay.
It's
I mean,
pretty
is that are we
linear.
just gonna
That's what-
say that's Tarantino jumping timelines?
Well,
Is that why do like so many movies?
Let's make
Tarantino.
let's make an obvious statement here. Pulp Fiction kind of revolutionized that for the modern age.
But
This movie wasn't really that like
why would you? But
unhinged
at
time-wise,
this point, to Pulp Fiction, like people were born post 2000, and people don't know who the fuck Pulp Fiction is. And
I
Never
don't
heard of
agree
it.
with that, but
you don't think that kids don't know what Pulp Fiction is?
if you're a kid who's into movies, you know what Pulp Fiction is.
But like
Cool.
the
But
average
I'm just saying.
kid.
If you're a cinephile, you know what Pulp Fiction is. Like if you're a fucking aviophile, you know how a 747 landing gear works. But if you're just a normal person born after 2000, you might not know what Pulp Fiction is. Just like you might not know what a Shutter. Anyways, I don't know why you're even arguing this. We can't. I feel like we can't just say that's Pulp Fiction. That's my ultimate argument. That's Pulp Fiction like because it jumps timeline at this point in time. There's too many movies that do that have nothing to do with Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
including this one.
I don't even agree with that. It doesn't even jump timelines. It's just a 3-act story. There's one
I didn't say
like
jump timeline. I said
flashback.
it's
It
told
does jump.
non-linear.
Well, I
It's
mean,
told non-linearly, is what I said.
It is told linearly, and it just jumps. There's only like one 5-minute little segment that jumps that does a little exposition scene. Other than that, the movie is in
Well,
But it-
no, because it
but it
jumps
goes
back to
back in
another story
time.
that it goes back in time once for
it
the
does
little
jump
Briefly.
flashback.
timelines.
Briefly.
You guys and your fucking semantics. It
It's
jumps
semantics.
the timelines, and it does.
It
It
has
is
the
non-linear.
first
Well,
act.
let's be honest. The
Second
reason why
act
this
is only
movie,
a couple weeks later, and then the third act is a direct continuation from the second act, and there's just the one flashback with the dude. That's it. It's not like that isn't like a really huge like throw to like a non-linear timeline.
But I mean, even if it jumps it for a second or for a millisecond, that still means it jumped it, so it still is non-linear. Come on, don't be.
What
Don't be
you're
dumb.
saying? A flat? It's not even a flashback. No one's flashing back. The story's flashing back. No one's
Yeah, the
going.
story
"Boo,
itself.
boo,
It's a
boo."
little yeah, it's a little
Let's be honest.
exposition.
The
It's
reason
just
why
an
this movie
explanation.
works so well is
Yeah.
because of the way it's told. You know what I mean? The way the
I
information
agree.
given to us is why it works. Why we're all liked it.
I agree.
If it didn't go like that, it probably wouldn't have been as good.
True. And
Because-
knowing nothing
Because then you
going
have
into
to
this was
figure
great.
out why, like how the information about the dude who did what he did would have gotten out. It's like, did someone explain that to him while he's in the fucking hole? You know what I mean? The way it was told was pretty great. The way
That's
they
true,
did it
'cause
was
the-
pretty
But
awesome.
what do you
homeless
mean?
guys seem
Like
to know.
the way?
Like, so the way that you find out the backstory of the old man doing that shit since the old days, like the way it was told in this was a very cool way to do it, as opposed to like
Definitely.
they're trapped in the hole and they hear
playing
a
it-
story about, or the homeless guy's like, back in the day, this guy did this. You know what I mean? They could have done it like that. That would have been how a lot of people would have done it. But
Well, he also
doing it
or
like
a-
that was
What if
good.
it was just a no explanation?
Yeah, that could have worked too.
I feel like that the only argument I could have had against that little flashback was that it could have not been there at all.
originally it wasn't in the script.
Oh,
A producer noted for him to add that, and he said it did make sense to add that. Just the whole showing of like
They
why.
did add
Yeah.
a fucking pretty iconic horror guy in there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's the guy that's a new Freddy Krueger, isn't it?
No,
But
that's
they
not
could
the
have
new
left it as just like the.
It's not. Who is that guy?
He's been in a bunch of things, but he's not the new Freddy Krueger.
Oh,
The new Freddy Krueger's the dude who played Rorschach and the dude from Shutter Island.
yeah, Rorschach.
Yeah.
That's not this guy.
No,
Oh, okay. I thought it
he's
was.
been in
I
a
liked it
bunch
better
of
when I
horror
did.
movies though.
I liked it
Let's
better
just
when
give
I
a
knew
shout
this
out
guy.
to Justin Long. I mean, he played a shitty character, but he played it very
Richard
well, and he's a great
Drake.
actor.
Yeah, Richard Drake. Wow. I mean, it kind of looks like that dude.
Yeah, he definitely has a good horror look to him.
He's scurry. That guy's scurry looking.
I mean, Bill Skarsgård also was used very well in this film.
He's the interrogator in the Kingsman. Have you guys seen the Kingsman, the first one? He's the guy that gives him a roofie right in the very beginning.
Never seen it.
You never seen the Kingsman?
Never seen it.
Ooh.
Put it on your board if you want, or
We're putting
don't.
it on the
I
You've
don't
never
board.
seen
think it is.
Kingsman?
I never saw King.
Those are pretty fucking fun movies, man.
Doubt it.
First
They're
one's great.
no, they're good. They're pretty great. They got some great fighting scenes too.
Maybe.
They're what's cool
They-
about them is they're straight up comedies. That's my favorite part.
Allegedly.
They're
They
just straight up
cha-
comedies.
They're like one of the things that elevated fight scenes. That movie elevated fight scenes. John Wick elevated fight scenes in movies. You can't have fight scenes, gun scenes, knife battles that don't look like this anymore because they're just going to be boring. You got to see it to believe it, Jake.
Maybe allegedly.
What do you mean allegedly? What's
Allegedly.
stopping you from watching the Kingsman? Do you
Mhm.
hate Colin Firth?
I'm not gonna lie, not a big Colin Firth guy. Kind
Not
of
a
think
big
he's a little
Colin Firth guy.
overrated.
Do you hate the guy that plays Eggsy? I can't remember anybody's names.
Taron
Great actors.
Egerton?
Yeah, that's the dude who played Elton. Great
He's grown.
movie.
He's grown on me.
What do you mean growing on you?
Taron Egerton. He's grown on me.
What,
I never
what-
hated him. I never disliked him.
So-
I just don't like British people. I'll say it right now. I don't like-
Wow.
I don't like British people.
Yeah.
What about Austin
Can't
Powers?
wait
I
till
don't know.
that's racist.
Hated it.
You
He's
hate Austin
Canadian.
Powers?
I don't know what the fuck they're saying the entire movie.
He's Canadian.
I need to watch that shit in subtitles. I don't know what they're talking
Hey,
about.
there you are.
I don't get
know
their-
you
I don't
know.
get
That's
their
I
what
watch,
you are. You're
jokes.
there.
I watch
Jokes.
British Bake Off with subtitles.
And you're
Dude, come on,
probably
that's
like,
the
"What
funniest thing
fuck are
ever.
you guys talking about?"
Hey, there you are. Do I know you? No, that's where you are. You're there. That's fucking hilarious.
They're the worst type of Europeans.
Really?
Yeah, I'll say it right now.
What about the French?
They're
my
great.
next movie is gonna be Hostel, and that might change your mind.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's gonna make you
Oh.
hate Algerians or Panamanians or where the hell they are.
All right.
I forget where they are. That
Gonna
movie.
make you hate Algerians.
Siberian.
They're not in
I don't know, some
Panamania.
Eastern Bloc shit.
Siberia. No, it's like yeah, it's like I forget where it is.
Bulgarian.
It's something like that. It's Eastern European country.
It's
Barbarian was filmed in
or like
Bulgaria.
Slavic,
Yeah.
you know.
That was
All right. So what's your haiku, Anthony?
I love this movie. There is a titty monster. Vincent St. Randy.
Vincent.
It's
St.
not
Randy.
Vincent St. Randy.
You know
It's,
who it is. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about though. It's what's his name? Oh god, that's probably Justin Long's best role is in Zack
It's
and
not
Miri.
Vincent St. Randy.
It's so funny.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
It's
Like, what's Vincent St.
it's
Randy?
Randy something. What is it? Hold on.
It's Vincent St. Randy. Oh,
It's not
Brandon
Vin-
St. Randy.
Brandon St. Randy. Yeah.
Okay. Forgot about that guy.
That's the funniest scene ever.
What do? I make movies with an all-male cast. Oh, like
Like Glenn Ross? Yeah, more like Gary drops his meaty balls in Ross's mouth.
While Glenn jerks off in the corner.
All right, here's my haiku. Justin Long, always. Creature titties are cool. This movie is rad.
I'm pretty sure if we had the exact yours was just backwards. You said the movie was good. You wanted more Justin Long, and you had a titty monster in the middle.
Yeah, man. You gotta acknowledge the titty monster in your haiku.
Where's your
Good
titty
deal.
monster, Jake?
All right.
Ooh.
Please don't go down there. That's a creepy ass basement. You're gonna suck tits.
Let's be honest. Why the fuck did anybody walk down that second staircase? Like, as soon as I saw
real.
that, I would have been like,
Yeah.
I'm getting the fuck out of here.
There's a lot of questionable
She
moves
was-
in this movie.
No, she played it pretty smart for up until about that point.
The part where I mean, why did Bill Skarsgård go down there? That's the
Well,
mystery of it all. Like,
See,
why?
I
must-
think that worked for the script because you're
course.
supposed to still think at that point, is he part of this? And at that point, you're
Definitely.
thinking he is part of this.
He's just
and
luring
then
her
he's not
down.
part of this. So that's why that happened.
I loved every single part of that. I loved
Yeah.
waiting for him to do something bad, and then he did it. I loved it the whole time.
And that's why he was
Same.
perfect casting because you're like, this is Pennywise.
Perfect.
Pennywise is gonna kill this bitch. You know what I mean? It's like
Got those
fuck.
crazy eyes, but he's also
yeah.
so like sweet and unsuspecting,
whole
just like a
time.
creepy like serial killer vibe.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's
So
what I
hold on.
heard from.
So yeah, go
really
ahead.
well done. with
That's
that.
what I heard from a woman. They're like, he's the perfect mix of like really hot and like nice, but also kind of like, will this guy kill me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's like a
Yeah.
male Gone Girl. He's like Gone Guy.
yeah, there you go.
And the fact we know him well as Pennywise, it's so like
Yes.
in our head, it's already like this got to be the villain, of course.
So
Yep.
I knew absolutely nothing about this when
Same.
I went in. I didn't even know Justin Long was in it. He
Nice.
Perfect.
showed up. I was like, this movie just elevated to the next level.
Shows
'Cause I
up singing
love
Ricky
Justin
Tikki
Long.
Tavi.
Oh, that was great. I have a thought about like when they jump to him, and I just like this motif when it's used in film.
good
It's
work.
like, if they when they cut to him, it was like a hard like cut because they like the whole first part happened where like it led up to the woman. They show the woman, then it cut to black, and then it cut to him singing Ricky Tikki Tavi. When they cut to black, that's when they have the title sequence of Barbarian at that point, and then roll credits when he's like singing. Granted, it's like 40 minutes into the movie. I'm a big fan of like super late opening credits.
I mean,
I
I
didn't
thought
even
that would've
realize
been
that.
the way that the barbarian comes in the movie is pretty cool too. When she walks in the
Yeah.
house and it just pans right and it goes to barbarian. That was pretty cool though.
That's true too. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
like that, but I think when I see a title sequence like 20, 30, 40 minutes, I get all stoked for some reason because I'm like, okay, now we're getting into it. Because then that's kind of when we get into like his character and how he got the house, and then just starts unraveling of the history of the house and everything like that from kind of his side.
Well, the
It'll
cut
take a minute to get to.
the cut of that fucking thing screaming at her and then to black and then to him was I mean, that's the
Great.
best part of the entire movie.
Because then it's like that music, the Ricky Tikki Tavi is like, this
Yeah.
is, it's
Yeah.
so
Okay,
like
hold
a
on. So
shush.
it starts
Let's
out
get
with
to
a
it.
girl pulling up to a house in Detroit, back to Detroit, where unions were invented.
I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure Jake lives in the block over, or it's where he's from.
Oh, I forgot you were from Michigan.
Streets up. Yeah, dude. I know the history.
Oh, I forgot.
Jake's
Where are you
straight
from?
11, he's an
8
11
Mile?
mile guy.
No, I'm from north of 8 Mile. So,
So 11 mile.
12 Mile.
Does that make you rich or poor?
That makes me rich.
Oh wow, good for you.
Yeah.
She pulls up probably like south of 8 Mile, then I guess, in
Definitely.
this house.
It's like
But
1
we
mile,
don't know
dude.
that yet. Right off the bat, she just pulls up to a house, normal ass Airbnb that we've all gone to before, which I loved. Have we had an Airbnb story that we thought? Didn't we think of an Airbnb story, Schwartz, about somebody like going to Airbnb and be fucked up?
I don't know, but this movie actually did remind me a little bit about the short we made of all it just being like you never really know quite what's going on
Yeah.
in places where you can't see inside. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
never quite know.
Yeah,
what's
especially when
happening.
in the flashback when the
Right.
guy's
Yeah.
just walking around buying baby diapers.
And Dave
Yeah.
Franco made a pretty decent Airbnb when he directed.
did,
I think he
yeah.
wrote. It's called the Rental?
The
Is that what it's
Rental,
called? Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty
Dave
interesting because like
Franco
say,
directed the
similar
movie?
similar vibe. You're just not really sure what's going on. Yeah, Dave Franco.
Well, the only thing I'd say the vibe is a
he
little
did do
different is
well.
that movie's much more grounded than this.
It
movie.
is. It was much more like straightforward.
grounded, much
There's
more.
just
and-
there's
Well, this
just a
movie starts
twist in
out
the
very
end of it
grounded.
all. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
but
This
it
movie
turns
starts
into
out-
something that's not grounded.
When I was watching the movie, I was like, this movie is dope. What a great idea to get two people in the same room. What a simple idea. We're in one location the whole time. Like this movie was probably written for one location. It's beautiful. Obviously things change, but it seemed simple. I didn't realize that one location was actually in Bulgaria and they built that whole city block, not just
Yeah.
that house. So
Mhm.
I feel like
Oh, they
I don't know,
did?
maybe
Okay.
they could
Because I know they did some in Detroit. I wasn't sure if that was like a Detroit block or something, exteriors.
They
I think-
rebuilt 13 houses in Bulgaria. They shot the bulk of it
Okay.
in Bulgaria. for
Yeah,
some
I
reason.
think
it
the
was just-
Detroit scenes were just her when she went to the interview. I think it's the only scenes they
That's
shot in
okay.
Detroit.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
even at that point, I was like, all right, well, this is the only scene outside the house. So still low
Yeah.
budget, single
Yeah.
location. I love the idea of her. She goes in, she rings a door or not. It's an Airbnb. So she's punching in the code. It's raining outside. She opens up the little box. It's supposed to have the key in it so she can get into her Airbnb, and the box does not have the key in it. She calls the Airbnb people. And did you know Barbarian is an anagram for Airbnb?
Yeah,
I just realized that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
What's funny is I watched an interview with the director and he did not know that either.
That's great.
That
That's
wasn't
funny.
done purposely.
I would have been like, oh yeah, duh.
There was something with the address too that was like 1490.
Yeah,
Something
it's
like
the
that.
same year that something happened in Rome, like something
The
invaded Rome. or
Barbarians
something
took
Barbarian.
over Rome.
And then I'll say with the director, he's also like, that was also a coincidence. I didn't know
Yup.
that. I did not
Yup.
put those numbers there. They were just put there.
I would have made it 1428 Elm Street, but that's for me. She calls Airbnb. It's not that nobody answers. Then a light comes on in the house.
Let's say one more thing before this though. This neighborhood is sketchy.
We don't know that yet.
It's
though.
only
Nope.
dark though.
yeah,
We haven't
but
really
it seems
seen
a
it
little-
it's just
exactly
The
yet.
dark.
scene where she looks around though, and there's no lights on in any of the other houses. That's
true.
sketchy. That would have scared the fuck out of me. I would have been like, oh well.
It's
this is
just
not
dark.
good.
It's a dark, stormy night. That's all.
Yeah.
But we don't see any of the like dilapidation of the neighborhood until the next morning when she walks
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
but he also does say like, I don't know if you looked around, but it's sketchy outside.
Yeah.
And where in Detroit is not sketchy? I guess where Jake's from.
Well, that's not really Detroit where I'm from. I'm from outside of Detroit, but there's I guess
11
now
11 miles
there's been
outside of
some
Detroit? Is it
areas
11
rebuilt,
miles
but
outside.
there's a lot of Detroit's pretty much a shithole. So there's been new resurgence in spots, but it's a very spotty city.
Did
A
you
lot of it
ever?
doesn't have fucking power.
Have you guys ever seen Detroit Rock City?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that movie when I was
It's a really
growing up.
good movie. One of the best
Yeah.
endings of any movie.
It's pretty great.
All right, back to the B&B. Pennywise is in the house. He fucking opens the door, super like, what's going on? Just woke him
Pennywise
up.
in human form. We should make that clear.
Sorry, Alex, no,
Bill.
Devin, Kevin, Bill. William
Todd Skarsgård.
He's inside, just as confused as she is, seemingly. Obviously, right off the bat, we're like, well, this guy's gonna murder her.
Suspect with those crazy eyes.
I mean, I don't think it does. He could do the thing. He could do the Pennywise thing where he looks both ways. They were like, "Oh, is that CG?" He's like, "No, I could actually do that with my eyeballs." Google it.
Crazy eyes.
Crazy eyes. Oreos and fish sticks. You know
Crazy
how I
eye-
like it.
Crazy ass killer.
And this is where it starts. This is where you're like, well, we can't wait for Skarsgård to kill her. He like invites her in. She does, but here's the cool thing is she does her due diligence. She calls the B&B, they don't answer. He calls, they compare phone numbers. She calls hotels. Hotels are full because there's a convention in town. She's not just like, oh, okay, fuck it, I'll just stay here. But
it's also important to know, like, he tells her there's a convention. Like, it's him kind of like almost like feeding her this information where it's like where you kind of thinking like, is this guy manipulating her or is he being a nice guy? Like, it's really uncertain right now.
The whole time he's doing borderline sketchy shit. And if it was a horror movie, it would be absolutely sketchy shit.
I'll go make you some tea. Like,
not only that, he offers her tea. She says no, and he's making it anyway. Oh, okay. Yeah. He has a bottle of wine that's just sitting there. Oh, okay. When he brought that out, I was like, well, that wine's going to get opened at some point. She leaves, she comes back, he makes her tea she doesn't drink it, and then he is saying, well, I could make new tea because maybe I put something in this tea. Just sketchy shit. And she eventually, what do they say that they're like, oh, I do this too, and they're like best friends after that. They're both into the same art.
They talk about her job interview, and she's interviewing for a documentary research position for this woman who made a documentary about jazz, and he happened to have seen the documentary, what she's surprised by, and then
he's
like in arts. Like he's in an art revival.
He said he runs something something that we don't really hear.
It's like something for the city of Detroit.
Yeah, and because the documentary she's making is going to be about the art scene revival, because that is something that happened in Detroit, like post 2009, after the economy collapsed. Like a bunch of art kids kind of moved down there. A bunch of rich kids kind of took over the certain areas in Detroit where a bunch of people left and moved out of, and kind of revamped them and made it like art installations and like just art communes and things like that. So there's areas of Detroit that have that going on. And that's kind of what was the documentary was going to be about. And that's kind of also what this guy did. So it was coincidence in that way. Or also psychologically, you're thinking like, maybe this guy like researched this girl and is just continuing to fuck with her. Like it's really cool how they do all that.
100%. Yeah. I'm the whole time I'm thinking this guy's fucking with her. But I was confused because I didn't know. It really, and I also heard him, what's his name, Cregger, talk about writing the movie, in that I think at this point he thought that that he was gonna kill. Like this was like the movie was coming to an end where something was about to happen with Keith and what's her name in the movie, Tess. Yeah. With Keith and Tess, something was about to happen. And then that's when he was like, well, maybe something else should happen, or I'm sure there's more to it. But
yeah, that's what I think is cool about this movie too, is he didn't write it in the traditional way of writing, like the 3-act structure or anything like that. He kind of just went with what he was feeling and saw where it went. I listened to the thing where he was like, when the fucking crazy thing happens in the tunnel, when what's his name happened, he's like, I didn't know it was gonna happen. I started the craziest thing that could have happened in that moment. Like, what would have scared the shit out of me?
That would have scared the shit out of me. Giant titty monster.
Yeah, bro, that shit was wild.
So
I wish my problem is I listened to the podcast with him and I knew all about everything before I saw this movie, which sucks.
That's awful.
That was a bad move, because
going
in and knowing nothing other than that the synopsis of like two people mistakenly booked the same Airbnb. That's all I knew. And I fucking loved the ride.
I'm gonna be honest with you. From the trailer, I thought it was just gonna be another like okay horror movie that I'm like, but
I never even saw that either. So I had zero expectations other than this has good reviews, and I'm
never
like,
saw a trailer. I didn't even know
Bill
Justin Long was
Justin
in it.
Long. I saw that in the movie poster that Justin Long was listed as a name. So that was
Justin Long needs to make more fucking movies, dude.
The fact
but then
that
I forgot he
was
in it.
I wish they wouldn't have said Justin Long was in it, because it could be a surprise like halfway through.
That would have been a good one. Yeah.
the whole time in my head, I'm thinking it's only these two people. So here's why I knew someone else was coming. I didn't know it was Justin Long, but I knew there had to be some kind of new development. It was because I was using Run Pee because I just drank a bunch of water and I knew I was going to have to pee. So I was like finding the right moment to pee. You guys ever use Run Pee?
I've heard about it.
It's it tells you like the best part of the movie to leave for 3 minutes.
Really?
It's great. And so I was waiting, and the moment was no spoilers or anything. It just says it's 50. It was like 50 minutes in when AJ walks in the house and says, "What the fuck?" And the whole time I was like, "Fuck, who's AJ? I gotta piss." Like that was the whole time. And then AJ comes like, "Oh shit." And then he walks in the house. He walks in the house.
It says what the fuck so many
times. And then
times.
while you're peeing, you click on that moment. This is not an ad for we are not sponsored by Run Pee, although that'd be a perfect sponsor.
We gotta get them to sponsor us.
That would be sick.
Idea.
It tells you the synopsis of what's going on in that 3.5 minutes or so that's going on. So you can literally while I'm peeing, I read that he all I missed was that he called his mom about she talked to him about the rape, and then his friend called him, and that's when I walked back in when he was like, "What up?" and then I was laughing.
Yeah. All right, so keep going with where we are.
So Pennywise tries to get her to drink the tea. Nope. Pennywise tries to get her to drink the wine. He saves opening it in front of her, and she still says no. And he goes, "All right, well, I'm gonna drink it anyway." Again, just like fuck this guy's gonna. And then he says she knows the lion tamers. He runs the lion tamers. That's when she's like, "Oh, okay, this guy's cool." And then cut to them both drinking wine and being.
Did we establish that like they both show up and he lets her stay there? Did we say that?
Yeah,
that's a big okay.
Yeah,
all
she
right.
shows
they realize it's a mistake on both ends. He used a different app or whatever. So
that was the thing.
It kind of makes sense.
It makes sense
in that sense, and like he already had stuff there, so she's kind of scoping out the areas. Like, okay, he's got his toiletries here. Like, of course, this guy's clearly traveling. He's not some like weird squatter because you think of that originally because he even says it. He's like, "What do you think? I'm just some weirdo that broke into this place?" Like,
he says, "Do I look like a monster?" He literally says that, which is great.
I laughed out loud when he said that too because that's such a great line for a guy who literally
is
plays a monster.
And there's just there's a lot of interesting dialogue with like the foreshadowing of like who they are and what like kind of she becomes because like it talks like they have that conversation about like the roles of like women approaching dangerous situations and then like. Throughout the movie, you keep getting mad at her because you're like, why? What are you doing? Why do you keep going in there?
Well, I read once she drank the wine, it was like, fuck, he got her, dude. Like that was what I was thinking.
I also read that this movie started out as a writing exercise for this dude, as just a woman and a man when the man is giving as many red flags as possible. It's like that was what I wanted
not
to
red
write.
flags. They were like microaggressions. He was talking about like
I heard him say red flags,
touching, like but like. Subtle, like doing a favor she didn't ask, and like they're not like necessarily outright red flags as much as like little quote unquote microaggressions that you could see as like, oh, this guy's like leading up to something else.
Yeah, well, just casting him is the number one.
The best.
It's like they could have casted a lot.
If
of like that
role the door, I'd be like okay, bye bye.
Like they could have had Justin Long play that guy and him play Justin Long character. You know what I mean? That would have been not as good because it's the scariness. Justin Long is not scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, well, that's why Justin Long was perfect for that character.
Exactly.
It was the flip. It was the unsuspecting of humans.
Another thing we didn't talk about yet, but happens right away, in my opinion, is the great camera work. There's some great camera work in this movie, and it happens in the first scene when she pulls up to the house and the camera just floats into her car. And the noise changes, like it's all creepy outside, and it gets in there, and the noise is calm, and then goes back out. And even the scene when she walks in the house, and it pans right, and it says goes to the title card, and then next scene it's her POV of just the house looking like that. That was great.
Excellent.
That was fucking great. Yeah,
very Sam Raimi.
Yes. And even though we're going a little further, but the wide angle close-ups were the same.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, especially when they're in like going down the stairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Straight down the halls of that cellar.
I wrote the exact same thing.
Who just decided to
The
to write
movie
something.
starts out great. Rain on a small house. Camera moves literally from underground, comes up through the window of the car. I love that shit. That's
that
like
was
what we
dope.
did in our short, going through the doors and going through the windows.
window and shit. Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Shows the thing hanging in her thing, so it's kind of
great camera work in this movie, man.
Great
camera work.
There's a point where Pennywise literally dresses like a ghost to put the duvet cover on.
Yeah.
That was like they're just like shoving it in your face.
Okay, so they drink the wine. They're getting friendly because she realizes that she can kind of trust him and that they have a little bit in common.
Yeah,
and
then she goes to bed. She wakes up. The door's open, and she's freaking out. They had to do laundry. I don't know if that's worth mentioning. It was kind of funny.
Well, that was kind of why they got in a conversation.
Why they were hanging
like
out.
It was,
he was like, "You got another hour until your laundry's done."
Yeah.
She wakes up. The door to the room's open, and she hears.
Well, she wakes up because she hears creaking noises, and then she hears a little bit of a, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then the door. She realizes the door's open.
Subtle like footprints away, or foot whatever. Knocks.
Yeah.
Little.
But the scariest part is the. That's the scary part. Because you're like, wait, what?
Still psychologically, you're still
you don't know. You just the doors open.
No, at
my head.
At this point, you're thinking Pennywise about to murk this bitch.
100%. Pennywise is fucking with her. So she goes out. Pennywise is tripping out on the couch. He's having some bad dreams. This dude can't sleep, and she's like looking at him. He wakes up. She scares the shit out of him. And then it was at this point that I was like, okay, maybe this guy's not like the guy that I thought he was. And then everything just kind of starts, that was it for that night. She goes back to bed. She locks up. The next morning she has her interview, right?
Yeah. And then he just leaves a note of like a very nice note of like, good luck tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Had a fun time.
Yeah.
So like he's seemingly a nice guy. He's just suspect.
Yeah, little sus. She wakes up.
She's
goes
into
out.
this dude, though. She's into this.
Yeah,
dude, and he's into her. Like, there's a little bit of attraction there.
There was a vibe.
This could have been a romantic comedy of two people meeting in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
The way that happened is would have been equally as good.
But now it seems to be just like a suspenseful, somewhat psychological thriller vibe to it, which is what.
Now it's.
I was so like tense this whole time. It was great.
Now it's the next day where it's kind of a breath of fresh air. It's daytime. He's not there. She's alone. Everything seems to be fine. She goes to an interview.
Well, that's when she sees
that's when she goes outside and sees
the
neighborhood too.
Yeah. So first she goes outside. Now she sees how fucked up the neighborhood is. She just realizes where she is. Detroit.
Yeah.
Anywhere Detroit.
But this isn't even like a fuck up. This is like uninhabitable houses everywhere except for the house.
Except for this
like
one.
That's pretty. Yeah.
Well, a lot of blocks are burnt down. A lot of blocks don't have power. Like a lot of blocks, just the city just abandoned. Like
how many
one of the
have
first
like
cities
just
out of, like,
one perfect
declared...
Airbnb amongst like 7 trap
I'm
houses?
sure they exist because houses were super fucking cheap, and so a lot of people would just buy random properties that were just still there and just would rebuild them and rent them out for whatever, or just flip them. And they're just still like in a shitty spot where there's houses burnt down right next to them, but there's just like a little refurnished house just sitting there for like 20 G's, and people fucking take advantage of that. That's why Justin Long probably has those properties. Flash forward. Sorry.
You think Justin Long owns those houses?
Probably. AJ Gilchrist does, or whatever the fuck his name was.
$96 a night in Michigan, $62 a night.
Oh yeah, probably for nice. Yeah, dude.
Right,
like,
let me find.
I don't know about now, but like 10 years
8
ago, people
Mile?
were making money off Detroit because it was just people left it. Like so many people were either got kicked out because of the foreclosures, or because
4 closure, 5 closure, whatever.
In the auto industry went down. Like it basically just went away in like 2009. So it had a good million people working in the auto industry who just didn't have a job.
Tell me, why didn't they just move to China, where they're making the cars?
Good question, because that's why a lot of people did move to Detroit, is because of the auto industry, and there was a lot of jobs
Detroit.
there.
They're not going to move to China.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or like
immigration is tough there.
All right, here's 8 Mile / Rosa Parks Boulevard.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's like a real neighborhood that's called. I don't even remember what it was called in the film, but
$200 a night.
Yeah. It's a weird, like I said, it's a very spotty, weird area because there are some cool, like rebuilt areas to it, but then there's still some like super shitty abandoned areas that have just crime and just poverty and drugs and all sorts of shit.
Are
Where's
streets
Marshall
the same
Mathers
as
live?
8 miles or miles? Like Fifth Street? Is that Fifth Mile?
No, so like where it's, I don't know if there's like actually a 1 mile, but it's like from downtown Detroit. So as you go north, it's like a 1 mile is like, 1 mile, there's 2 miles. So 8 mile is like 8 miles from the mid city of Detroit, or is like the central city of Detroit.
Whatever.
So it's like on the outskirts. Like it's like LA, it's a very like sprawling area for what it is. Detroit itself is like a small little inner city, but like the sprawling areas is where all like the little neighborhoods are and shit.
Copy you.
Just hit me with any Detroit question.
If you ever want to visit Detroit, contact Jake Golden.
Yeah.
So she, at this point, I'm thinking, all right, low budget, 2 locations, one's outside of a building and one's inside a house. So she goes to,
job interview.
oh yeah, and the job interview, and the lady, even in the lady in the job interview, I think she's like, yo, where are you living? You shouldn't fucking be living there.
Yeah, she definitely was like surprised and was like, you shouldn't stay there.
Brent
But
Moore.
either way, the job interview goes well, seemingly.
Who cares? She comes back to the house, and a guy like chases her in the house, right?
Yeah,
it's
homeless
one of the
guys
homeless guys.
running
He's
down the street.
What are you doing, girl? What are you doing in that house, girl? What are you doing?
Stay out of that house.
Yeah,
So
he's
trying to help her.
at that time, it seemed, we don't know that yet, but he seems to be like he's
I didn't
warning
think
her.
about that.
But
I'm
I know.
not gonna lie. When it was happening, I was thinking he's trying to help this bitch. She don't even realize that.
Oh, okay, I didn't even think that at all.
Well, I
did.
mean,
But you knew it was going to happen,
Schwartz.
Schwartz. To be fair,
Yeah, I
ultimately,
guess it's true.
you kind of knew. We
well,
did not.
I didn't know what was going to happen. Alls I knew,
You knew
that
there
was
was a monster
spoiler,
downstairs.
is that there was a monster in the house. I didn't know how it was going to go down. And the whole time, to be honest with you, I thought Skarsgård was baiting this chick because I thought he was like the ringleader. So I really didn't know.
Not hoping, but that was the assumption.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The psychological directing and writing.
Yeah.
Got us to think that.
The way that was shot was pretty amazing too. She's just like, she's in focus by her car, and then like 50 or 60 feet down the road, this like out of focus blob is just slowly getting closer and faster to her.
That was cool.
And then like eventually it starts making noise, and you're like, oh my God, that's pretty scary, man. Pretty scary. This director did a really good job with this movie.
I
He
agree.
did great. First movie.
He did a great job, yeah.
Solo.
I'm excited for
First
more.
solo.
Yeah.
She runs in the house. She calls the cops. They don't come because they're like, this Detroit bitch.
Yeah, we don't have the units, is what they say.
It's so again, she's doing all the right things. She's not being like some dumb, run up the stairs when you should go out the door kind of stereotypical female horror lead. She's calling the cops, and she's looking for other places to live. And even though he did tell her that the convention was in town, she did call like at least one other place, and they were like, no, we're all full. Maybe she called more. I don't know.
Yeah, she did her due diligence.
So she calls cops. They don't come. Why does she go downstairs?
She needs to find toilet paper. Simple as that. She's in the bathroom.
Out of toilet paper.
There was no toilet paper there. She starts searching the house for toilet paper. Then she sees that there's another door. She goes downstairs,
goes down to the basement,
but the basement door closes and locks behind her. So she's stuck in the basement for a little while.
So she's in the basement,
and she leaves her phone in upstairs. She has the key
in her pocket.
But
and the way that shot too is pretty awesome. She sits down on the stairs, realizes she doesn't have her phone, boom, close up, zoom in shot of her phone, realizes the key's in her pocket, boom, zoom in shots to the key unlocks. Like it was really,
like
really,
key
really
box
good.
with no key in it.
Really, really cool.
Oh, so good. She's
because she locked the
down
door
there
when the fucking homeless guy came. So
of course. She's chilling down there now, hanging out.
Waiting for Bill.
Just waiting for old Pennywise to come
Or
home.
Keith. His name's Keith, by the
His name
way,
is
which
Keith.
is an awful human being name.
Keith?
But Keith,
Why?
I don't know. It just sounds.
No disrespect to any Keiths listening to
I don't
this.
think I know any Keiths.
Keith doesn't matter.
Out of high school,
Jake's not that
worldwide,
cool
dude.
of a
Great guy,
Keith's,
but
just know.
There could
Fuck
be a
Keith.
Keith in Indonesia listening to this.
What up,
Send
Keith?
that bad man back to Indonesia.
Shout out to Keith.
Shout out to Keith. Shout out to all the Keiths.
Sorry,
This is
Keith.
Jake.
You're probably
Keith,
mad.
if you see Jake on the street, he will make out with you to apologize.
It just reminds me of a
Punch him in
name
the
like
nuts.
Brad. It's like an It's like it
Jesus.
seems like villainous.
Yo,
It's
no
like
Brad.
disrespect to any Brads.
Nah, I hate all Brads.
What?
What about Brad Pitt?
He's cool, but I don't know him personally.
I know like 6 Brads that I like.
What about Brad from Home Improvement?
I think that was
Brad
a
Renfro?
character name, but that was JTG, right? Or not
What-
JTG, JTT.
I don't remember which
Justin
one. he
Taylor
was.
Thomas?
No, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Justin Taylor Thomas.
That's right, Jonathan. Thank you. Close.
Shout out to
All right, so
JTT.
She's
I think
hiding
he's
in the.
dead.
She's trapped in the basement.
She
and what
finds a
does she
string in a
start-
wall.
Long story short, she finds this weird ass string that's in the wall. Pulls the string.
Finds a rope in a wall, pulls the rope, opens a
Door
door.
opens all ominously.
Now,
and she's
I mean,
got the best line in the movie, which is Jordan Peele's line of "Nope," which I wonder.
Yep.
I wonder if that was written before that he knew about it or after. But either way, it's great.
Yeah.
oh, I'm sure it was written after and on purpose. It was great.
Maybe.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Nope, she says, I'm not going down there.
Yeah.
And she just seemingly for hour maybe, she sits
Yeah.
there, just stares at the fucking thing, and then
See,
eventually
no,
goes down.
Hold on. Before we go on, at this moment, in my mind, that would have scared the fuck out of me. Like, I don't think I would have been able to sit on that staircase with that door open. I probably would have shut that door
Shut it.
and put things in front of it so I know if everything was coming out of it again.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, it opens in, but at least if it opens and something comes out, it's gonna hit something. You know what I mean? Like that to me, like I find a hidden door. I'm not thinking anything positive. There's not one positive thought in my mind. Just putting that out there.
I definitely would have broken down the upstairs door.
Yeah,
and
just
been
kick
like,
that
I would have
shit
been like,
open.
fuck this house. Like,
yeah.
I already
I'll pay
got
for the
fucked
door.
over. I'm not paying for shit because I already got fucked over with this whole debacle of rentals. So it's like, fuck this house. I'm breaking this door.
100%.
I mean,
yeah, let's be
let's be-
honest. No, let's say there's no secret passageway door, and you're still locked in the basement of a house that you
I
don't
don't
Yeah,
know.
that's still scary.
In all that
I'd maybe
situation.
give it a little time, but
Yes.
not that
Well, I
long.
wouldn't have been as
To who?
scared as the door. But
She has someone coming home. Like we're not traveling with people like that. Like
Yeah.
if we immediately, I'm breaking that door down.
Yeah.
I could fix a door jam, no problem. Hour 45, no problem.
yeah.
Basements
So-
alone. So she opens the door. She uses the mummy techniques to get light down the hallway. She
Which I
shines
loved. I actually liked
mirror.
that. I liked seeing like someone just use their brain in a situation. You know what I mean? She was like, "All right, well, I can get some light
Seemed
down
like
there."
such a filmmaker idea, which
Yes,
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Well, have you guys seen the mummy?
I have seen the mummy.
I
They
don't
do that in
remember
the
it.
mummy.
Okay.
It's a mummy.
They also do that in the
Seen
opening
the
scene
mummy.
of Fifth Element to Aziz light.
Oh,
I mean, it's not a hallway, but he's still using the mirror to reflect from the sun.
You're right. The Fifth Element did it first.
Yeah. Okay, so she shines the
Fifth
light
Element's
down the
such a good
hallway.
movie, and the opening of Fifth Element is
Bro,
just
remember
the
when
best.
we saw that in Utah in that little shitty theater? That was amazing.
Yes. Forgot about
Yeah.
that.
All right. So she shines the light down the hallway, and
Why
from
did
the
she
light-
go? She just goes.
Well, she sees the handle to the other door, and she, like, this is the thing.
Maybe
Having
there's
said
another way
what I
out.
said, about the scariness of it, if I did see that handle, I would kind of be like, "Oh my god, what's in there? Oh my god, what's in there? I gotta know what's in there. I gotta know what's in there." So I probably would have went down that hallway, but I would have been terrified.
I mean, I definitely would have gone down the hallway.
I probably would have too.
I'm
I
100%
would've
going
been
down
terrified.
any open creepy door I see.
Because I think she was just at that point looking for another way out.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think that's what it was. Looking
mostly
for a way
it.
out. So she goes
100%.
down the hallway, opens this door, and in this door
At
is
this
a small room with a bed, a bucket, and a fucking old VHS tape, VHS camera
Yeah.
recorder, VHS tape recorder, or VHS recorder, I should say. I don't know what it is. It's
Nasty
called a tape
mattress.
recorder. Yeah, this mattress looks like someone shit on it, pissed on it, period blooded on it, threw up
All
on it,
sorts
all
of
the
human
above. you know what I mean?
stains.
there's a blood
Human juices.
hand stain on the wall, like
Yes.
Kate
Yeah, yeah.
in Titanic.
Yes, and at this point, The bed and the bucket probably would have been okay, but the camera, I would have been
yeah.
like, all right, I am out of here. That's and
I'm
she,
not gonna lie,
she does the
100%.
same
I saw
thing.
the bet, like, because by at this point the music is off the chain. The music in
Yeah.
this movie was fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Very 80s.
The music
like,
starts
Trent
getting great when she
Reznor-y.
walks down the hallway. It starts getting like
Mhm.
synthy horror.
Yes.
Synthy
Literally,
horror
like
music.
she uses light to shine down the hallway. My next note is the music is epic at this point.
Yeah.
She sees that, and I thought the same thing. It's the music's insane, and I'm like, oh shit, a bed, oh shit, a bucket. And in my head, I was like, that's not that bad. But yeah, then you see like everything
But
else.
you see the camera first. The
Oh,
first
do
thing
you?
you see is the camera, and you're like,
No.
oh, that's fucking crazy.
Still, like, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
So she freaks out in the dungeon. She gets the fuck out of there. Skarsgård,
Arrives home.
arrives home.
Yeah, she sees him outside the little basement window.
Or
She
hears him
gives him
knocking. Yeah.
That's right. So she's only gone through the. So there's just a hall. All she sees right now is a hallway and the door.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, she
Which
freaks
should
out,
be
runs
enough.
back out. She sees Bill come home, banging on the bang. She bangs on the window. They open the window together. Gives her the key. She gets her out of there. They're fucking. Yeah. I forget what I was saying, but this is when I was like, all right, this is not just two locations. This is not just I mean, it's probably a small budget, but this is not as simple as I was thinking it was. It's not just in a house. There's a
Right.
fucking dungeon now. Yeah, so she goes in. Keith has to see what's down there. She's explaining what's going on to Keith, and she's like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And Keith's like, again, we're still at this point, we're still like, fuck. Keith is just trying to lure her down into the dungeon now. And he's like, let's go back down there. And she's like, no. And he's like, well, I'm going to go back down there. And she's like, cool, later. And he's like, no, you got to stay while I go back down there. And she's like, what the fuck? She's
Well,
like, so she,
his exact words were, I mean, I didn't see what you saw, but I'm not too scared about a bucket and a bed in a room. You know what I mean? It's a basement room. So, which makes
Yes,
sense.
makes
Which
sense.
makes sense. Yeah.
makes
which
sense. And then he goes, stay just in case I get locked down there. You can open the
Yup.
door for me. Just
Yup.
prop a fucking door open,
Yup.
Pennywise.
And this, in my opinion, up until this point of what happens next, this movie has been very, very grounded. Like even the things that are supposed to be scary, whether it's the music or the creepy creaks and the door being open and him having a nightmare, it's all been very fucking grounded. It becomes ungrounded when you realize that he goes down that other hall, because that's just the dumbest movie you can possibly do.
Yeah. So he sees the door, he sees the bed and the bucket and the camera.
Well, at this point,
And
you don't
then
even know what he sees, because he goes down in the basement and we stay with her. We're up there with her.
Everything's from her perspective.
Everything's from her
in the first act.
perspective. And
Okay.
then she waits like a minute and says, hey, do you see it? And he responds with, yes, I do. And then he no longer responds after that. And she goes to investigate.
Well, and then he starts screaming.
Well, not yet though. She says, do you see it? He goes, yeah. And then like another 10 seconds when she goes, all right, come back up now. And then it goes radio silent. And that's when she goes
And
to check
her walking in silence, screaming Keith, is probably the best part of this movie.
But that's the other part where I was like, bitch, why would you do that? Don't make yourself fucking known.
Well, I mean,
To
her
what?
going back
She's
down
looking for her
already
friend.
seemed like a mistake.
In
because-
my opinion, if I saw that second fucking hallway,
So
there
yeah,
is
so
nothing
she's walking
that's when
down.
that's when she hears help.
She walks
when she
down.
opens
She
the
sees.
base-
She
the other-
passes the door, and now she's going further, and she sees like dog bowls and cages and
hold on a
shit.
second, though. Hold on a second. She gets to the first room
Yeah.
where with the videotape, and she realizes he's not there. So she looks around again and realizes that the
This
door
is exactly
right
what
behind
I'm
her,
explaining right now.
But but then she opens that other door and she sees the staircase, and that's when
The staircase is
when it's
creepy as
like-
fuck.
Are the
That's
dog
the-
bowls and shit down there? They're not up
That's
top.
it, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
down there. So, she sees the staircase, and
it's
to
not a
me-
staircase. It's a fucking dungeon.
Yes,
Yeah.
She's go. It's I mean, it is a staircase, but it's like
it looks like a
carved
tunnel. It's a fucking tunnel.
Yeah.
Well, that's when
Pitch
she hears
black.
help. That's when Keith starts yelling.
That's when she
So
hears
That's
help,
why
yep.
she goes down to help him. Because if
Yes.
he wasn't yelling for help, I'm sure there's no fucking way she would have
No,
gone
let
down
me
the
ask
stairs.
you. Let me ask you guys this though: help or not, you going down that staircase?
No way.
I honestly think I would not go down the staircase, help or not. I would call the cops. Well,
Yeah.
obviously that didn't work before, so I don't know what
she
I
got
would
a
do.
different reason. She called cops on a homeless guy versus calling cops on a guy screaming at the bottom of a fucking dungeon.
Who at this
I
point she
would-
seemingly likes, who she kind of spent the not physically spent the night with, but like spent time with this guy, had some sort of connection with him. I see why, because she is just there to help, and she wants to help him. So I get
God.
that. And
It's
But
at this
that is
point
the
that
most
it turns
scary
she turns
fucking
into
thing you
her
could
the
see.
stereotypical person, a horror trope of like, well, but it's not like I need to get out of here, let me go down the dungeon. It's like she's going down with a purpose. She's still it's still grounded, still a little grounded.
So I guess can I ask this? If
No,
Schwartz,
you can't.
if the three of us were staying at this place and one of us went down there, and you were first alone and found this creepy ass room with a video camera, and then one of us came back and then went down the hall, and then you found the stair, and then you hear us yelling for help, would you help one of us?
I would. I probably would, but I would be so against it.
If
on
I got
every-
you out of there, I
every
would be
single-
so pissed. I would be so
What?
pissed at you if I
Oh,
like
yeah.
went down there and saved you
Yeah.
and pulled you
I
out. I
think-
would be
I
so
think
pissed at you.
The first thing I would say down that staircase after I
Nope.
heard you scream for help would be, "Why the fuck did you go down this staircase?"
Fair. I
And
would
then-
still begrudgingly go. I would go
Yes,
to
I
help
would.
you
I
guys,
would
but I
do it
wouldn't
because you're my friend.
wouldn't
But
want
I
to.
would be so angry about it. I would be
Right.
like, "Motherfucker!" I probably would have went back into that other room and tried to find a weapon first, to be honest. But
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
that
Grab
would have been my
something.
only thing. I would have grabbed some sort of
even
weapon.
Jay Long grabbed a fucking butter knife.
Yeah, I would have grabbed a weapon of some sort. But I tell you this. I tell you what I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have screamed your name going down there. I would have been completely quiet. I would have tried to figure it out for myself, because me personally, if I see something like that, that fucking room would have set me off. The first room would have been like, yo, this is all bad.
Oh, for
And then
sure.
that second staircase would have been like, my first thought would have been, is there someone else down there besides for you? Like, that's just how I think. I would have thought like that. So I would have not screamed your name. I would have just went down there hoping that I could have found you without making my presence known.
I don't know. I think I would be doing the same. Number one, I'd be screaming for more details.
Yeah.
Help! No, tell me what's going on. Do you see anybody else down there? What?
Yeah.
Who's with you?
Yes, because
Are
I'm
you
not gonna
alone?
lie. If I screamed, "What's going on down there?" and you go, "I
Titty
don't know,
troll!"
something bit me," then I don't know if I would have saved you. I might have
Something
just been
bit
like, "Oh,
me?
you're fucked."
Yeah,
I'd
I'm
be like,
sorry,
"You're
dude.
fucked. Sorry,
You got to
dude."
make it to the
me
very
call the
bottom
cops
of these
first.
stairs, and I will come
Yeah.
and grab you.
Yes, if I see your hand, I will grab it. But until that happens,
I am not leaving the bottom step of the
Yeah.
staircase.
yeah.
Something bit me. There's a titty troll down here.
All right, so
There's a
she
guy
screams-
watching movies.
She
All right, I'll
screams
be right
this-
down.
She screams this dude's name. He screams for help. She goes down the staircase. She walks past these fucking cages that
Yeah,
a little bit
gates
blood
and
stained.
cages.
Yeah,
Gates.
dog,
This looks like a fucking
bowls and-
yeah. It just looks like a fucking like
You're not coming.
penitentiary or
Yeah, it
something.
doesn't look
Which,
like
when
she's
they
gonna go
give
back.
the explanation, there's not like really an explanation. They just kind of said what this guy was doing.
Yeah.
So like
There's a lot of
you could only
implications.
imagine of like
Yeah.
Yeah.
what he was doing. There's cages
yeah.
and dog bowls. Like how many? So anyway, she goes down there. She's looking for him. He's screaming. I don't know if she has a light at this point. She has a flashlight. Oh,
She
she's
has
using
her
her
phone.
phone.
She
She
does
has
have
her
her phone at this
phone.
point.
Yeah.
She's using her phone as a flashlight.
Which, by the way, those shots, any shot with like flashlight or phone light used as a primary light was really done well. Like
really good.
it looked really good.
It looked like that was
good.
what was lighting.
That-
because that's
exactly.
all you were seeing.
Exactly.
And that's what we were. There was got to be like POV shots of
There was a few.
of looking
There
at the
was a
dog
few.
bowls and shit.
There was a few. Yeah.
She finally sees Keith, and again, that's for some reason there. Her like slowly walking through the tunnel by herself, phone in hand, yelling Keith. Like there's something so terrifying about that, and I love that for some reason that part stands out in my mind.
Wait, which part is it? Say it again.
Of her just walking through screaming Keith, like just
Yeah.
like, look, because it's like getting more
She's,
and
it's
more
helpless.
desperate.
It's helpless.
And
Yeah.
more and
Yeah.
more helpless until the very
And
end when
she
she
knows
sees
that
him.
the deeper she goes,
Yeah.
the more fucked she is.
Yeah.
Like supposedly.
And the
at this
cages
point,
and gates imply that. Yeah.
we still think all of this is Keith's. I did
Exactly.
anyway.
Yeah. Psychologically, we
Yeah.
think he's luring her in because
Yup.
it's just like, and
So
The way
we
he
see
comes
him-
out, the way he comes out of the dark is creepy as fuck too, because he comes out of the dark like crawling.
Yes.
Looks like
Yeah.
Pennywise style,
Looks like
looks like a little
His
animal.
Pennywise eyes are the first thing you
Yeah.
see.
And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
fucking terrified, or
Yeah.
at least we think he maybe is acting like it,
Yes.
but he's saying
So
someone
we're
else is
like,
down here.
okay,
He's got
here
bit.
he
Yeah.
is.
She's like,
Someone-
we gotta go,
again,
we gotta go.
What did
And
you
he's
say?
like,
Someone else is down here.
yeah,
Bye.
yes, I'm out. So he comes crawling out of the dark. She goes, we gotta go this way. He goes, no, don't go that way. Someone's down here. She's like, but this is the way out. And as they're arguing, out of the fucking pitch
Darkness.
blackness, this 6 foot whatever
Titty
naked
monster.
troll, fucking inbred Hills Have Eyes motherfucker comes out and just smashes Pennywise's face to death.
Smashes-
Screams in her face, and boom, cuts to black. Which was like,
smashes
oh,
it like
shit.
a fucking like in what was the last Tarantino movie where he was smashing her face against the
Oh
mantelpiece?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
Great head.
True.
smash.
Yeah.
Great
I know,
head
and
smash.
at that point, I'm just holy fuck. Like I still no idea what this movie is.
Yes.
The
That
movie
was like,
Yeah, because the whole movie's turned on its head at that point. The whole
Yep.
everything that you thought was happening is now no
Yeah.
longer
Bill
happening.
movie
Skarsgård's now
seemed
dead.
to have
It
been-
clearly wasn't him.
leading up to this point, and then it just ends. Luckily, it starts again. Cuts to black.
Yeah.
Cuts to Mr. Justin Long, who I did not know was in this
Yeah.
movie.
Happily driving through Malibu, like
Yeah,
This is
singing
my
Ricky
favorite
Tikki
movie of all
Tavi.
time. at this
Donovan,
point.
like I
What's
love
he
that
singing?
cut.
Ricky
Ricky
Tikki Tavi.
by Donovan.
I don't know this. I love the switcheroo. This is the best. At this point,
What's-
I thought this is the best movie of all time.
Also, what's cool about this switcheroo is that when you're introduced to Justin Long, knowing all the roles Justin Long has played, he's just a really cool, hilarious, nice guy. And from the minute you meet, well, not from the minute, but
No,
from
immediately
a minute
we-
after you meet
yeah.
him, you realize that this dude is
We
not
think
a nice
we're,
guy.
we're like, all right,
Yeah.
Justin Long's in this movie. He's the Dell guy. This is great.
Yeah.
And this
Uh-huh.
bright, happy cut comes directly after this terrifying like a long terrifying, like that whole basement dungeon thing. It's like a 5-minute scene of tension,
Yeah.
and then the fucking
Yeah, but
crazy
according to you,
people,
5
and then-
minutes isn't that important because we had a 5-minute cut, like switch back, and you were like, no, this is not a fucking important.
No, it's important. I just want to call
I'm
it
just kidding.
a non-linear switch. Like I want to call the movie non-linear because like the main story area is focused in a linear.
No, I guess you're right
in-
because
in
when
a
it cuts
line.
to Justin Long's character, it's still linear because it is
It's
happening
still
at the
after
same time
that.
as it's happening to her.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know
you're
that
right.
though. I mean,
You're
we
right.
didn't know that at first. In my
Yeah.
head, I was like,
You don't
okay,
know. Yeah, you have
is
no
this
clue
gonna
what the fuck's
be-
happening.
Is this going to be
Yeah,
in the
this
past?
could be
Is this gonna
completely
be far in the-
unrelated.
But
yeah.
that's
Far in
the
the
best
future?
part because you're all of a sudden you're just out of everything you've been in for the last 45
Yeah.
fucking minutes. It's like a new movie. It's like,
guess,
oh
yeah.
shit.
And that
Yeah.
it seems Tarantino-esque because we don't know. It's a
Yes.
completely different story. This is
I-
completely seemingly
use-
unrelated, but it
Yes.
pulls it together. It
I
comes
use
together.
Tarantino-esque because as a person growing up, Pulp Fiction is the first movie I saw that did that.
Yeah, no,
I had never
yeah,
seen something that did
makes
that before.
sense.
So, and for people, I mean, I'm not saying there were never movies that did that back in the day, but I don't think there's many. I think that was like one of the most popular ones that did that. The ones that was like everybody saw. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
everybody saw Pulp Fiction.
Well, my only argument on that is I guess it's the non-linear thing, but you're right in that the way this jumps to Justin Long, that is pretty Tarantino in that.
Yeah,
in
for
that.
sure.
That cut seemed Tarantino-esque.
But it's
I'm
also
just saying, calling a movie that tells itself non-linearly, you can't just say that's Tarantino-y. And I thought
sure.
that's what you were.
I mean,
going
I guess you
You
can
were,
because
that's
that's what I know it from. So, is it the right thing that everybody should say? Maybe not, but that's how I said it. You know what I mean?
you're not
and
right.
also-
I just debated the linearness of it because it does tell it in a straightforward timeline.
The genius of that cut though is that they could have just had Justin Long show up like to the house in Detroit and that be how it happened. But you get this whole backstory on why he's there, why
Yeah.
he's there for that house,
Why he
and
chose to go there.
why he like, and that was great. That was a really, really cool way of doing it. Like I'll give that. Like that was awesome. That was pretty sick.
And the
So, yeah.
reason being is because he's driving down the highway, driving down the PCH, singing a happy song. And his management calls him, essentially tells him that
Yeah.
he's accused of sexual misconduct, pretty much rape. And it's from someone he worked with on a pilot of a show, which was supposedly picked up. I think what's funny about this conversation is the fact that he's like, well, what about the pilot?
Yeah.
What, like,
Yeah.
am I on or what? And they're like, no, probably not.
I think
And
the
No, they
best
should have
move
said to him, they're like,
forward
if this
is
moves
to
forward,
go
you're
along
out.
with the pilot without.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
whether it goes or doesn't go, you're not in.
the most likely circumstance is that, like, they never concretely say like you're fired. They're just like,
Yeah.
that's most likely what's gonna. That's the most likely scenario,
Yeah.
which is
yeah.
there's a lot of implications. In
He
this
gets
movie.
accused of
He
rape.
got me
That's
too.
what he gets
Yeah.
accused
He
of.
got me
He gets
too.
accused
He got
of
me
rape
too.
by his co-star who he had sex with, and he
And
decides
might have
to.
raped.
Yes,
I mean,
for
the
sure.
way
The
it
way he-
sounded,
well,
it,
I
it
was gonna
sounded
wait.
like it sounded
The
like
reason
he
why I
did
didn't
something
say
he
later,
didn't want.
yeah.
The reason why I didn't say anymore is because I was gonna go wait till the scene where he describes what happened and be like, "Well, that's rape."
Because again, this is an unsuspecting character, almost the opposite of Bill Skarsgård. He seems like a sweet guy,
Yeah.
seems like a nice guy, and suddenly he
Yeah.
gets this crazy accusation. And he's just like denies it.
Yes.
So
Well, at first, like you kind of are with him. You're like, oh, maybe he didn't do it. Maybe this is because it's Justin Long, and you're like,
Justin
all
Long.
right. And then slowly,
happy guy,
little
sing
by
like a
little,
cabbie.
you're like,
Nah.
oh no, this guy
This
is
guy is a
this guy's a
scumbag.
scumbag. Yeah,
This guy
guy's
did
an
whatever they're
asshole.
saying.
Yeah. So it cuts to the next scene where he's at his wealth management office, and the guy's like, with your rate of spending and you now not getting this pilot, in about 3 or 4 months, you're gonna be broke. So you should probably sell your house in LA. And he's like, fuck that. I want to sell my houses in Michigan. And he's like, well, it's only gonna buy you a few more months of living like you do. And he's like,
Living La Vida
all right.
Loca.
And then he's like, and by the way, I'm cutting you off. You're no longer my client because you raped this bitch. And so cuts to the next scene where Justin Long is getting in a rental car in Michigan to liquidate his assets. And he pulls up to the same house where all this bullshit's going down.
And this is when we realize, this is when we know that this is not in the future, it's not in the past. This is well, it's a little in the future. I mean, this is, but it
She's
seems
been
like
probably down there for a bit.
It's implied that it's been a couple weeks because when that conversation he has with the whatever the rental property people, he asked them like, why are people not here? And they're like, no one's staying there. And then they say like people come in and clean up the place before someone comes back.
Okay, so
Not
now
directly after someone leaves, it's right before a new person comes in.
She even
She's
says
like, it's been a couple weeks. Yeah. So
I was
it's
see.
implied it's a couple weeks.
I thought that was her being like, yeah, we rented it out a couple weeks ago and they weren't paying attention to when it was. But I see. Okay, that makes way
But
more
she
sense.
could also
I thought,
suck at her job, though at the same time.
But
'cause-
no, but what
I
you're saying
thought
makes
that
more sense.
that the company just didn't know that those two were there, but it makes
I
more
did
sense
too,
what
but
you're
that
saying.
doesn't make sense though. That makes
you're
zero sense. It's the way Jake's saying it for sure.
Especially the way,
Damn,
because I
okay.
remember them saying, like, being very specific about the cleaning, and I was thinking like, why is that important? But that's why,
That is why.
because
Yep.
that's what-
Yep.
that
it's
dialogue.
still going to
Couple
be
weeks.
dirty until right
So that
before.
bitch was down there.
But
for a
also, that
couple
doesn't make
weeks.
sense. Somebody should clean right after they come in. Like, there's like stains that are timely, you know.
Yeah, I mean that was Justin.
I mean, for the
Long's
movie,
argument.
yeah. I'm just saying.
And
for real
Justin Long
life,
is
I
like
would
a
want the
dick on
company
the
to come in.
phone, so this is kind of like establishing these characters. This is all like the misleading stuff that is, I think, really well written about this movie.
Yeah,
Because at
yeah.
this time, you kind of feel bad for Justin Long still, because
Yeah.
he's still very much in denial
know
about
yet.
everything that happened. We don't know what happened with him, and then we already think the company renting the property is trash because they double book these people. So like we're like, oh well, they're just fucking off. They don't know people are there. We don't. This is all the unknowns at this moment.
On unknowns, but we are slowly being revealed to it is slowly being revealed to us that Justin Long is a scumbag.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I think it
the
starts
big,
when
the big what up F word.
I think it starts when he's on the phone with his mom brushing his teeth, and then he tells her that he's gotta
Oh yeah, and they're also saying that his mom's also, oh, come visit us, come, we miss you, and he's like, yeah, I don't know, and he's in Detroit literally.
Yeah, and she's like, your dad wants to see you, and he's like, dad wants to see me, and she's like, well, you know who your dad is, and his dad probably hates him. His dad's probably like, he's a little scumbag. And then he goes, oh mom, I'm getting an important business call. She's like, all right, love you. He clicks the phone off without saying love you, goodbye. And then he goes, what up, F word, really, really loud, which was hilarious, but also is pretty.
That cemented it.
It's pretty demeaning.
Like,
so,
okay, this guy's supposed to be an asshole.
Yes, he's a dick.
He
He's
may
a
as
fucking
well have
asshole.
been eating an apple.
Exactly.
So he meets up with his
Exactly.
friend at the party.
At the
This is-
bar.
Yeah, at the
They're
bar.
getting
Yeah.
Bar,
trashed.
yeah.
This is where I
Yeah.
came back from the pee room. So thanks for explaining the mom.
And
part.
he asked
problem.
her, he asked him like what happened, because one thing we also didn't talk about is the thing that happened with the woman. They put a press release out, so everybody knows that this happened because it's in like the National
news.
Enquirer, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's all over the
Yeah.
internet, and people know that this dude got
Got the R word
got
accusation.
the R word accusation. Yeah. So he explains to this dude in the bar exactly his version of what happened. And just from the little explanation, you're like, well, that doesn't sound like this is going to go your way.
Very, very
and
suspect.
you're pretty much a fucking asshole. And that's when you're
Great
like,
kisser.
all right, this guy sucks. And cuts back to the house. He drunkenly calls the girl, which is dumb as fuck. And is like, he doesn't even say anything nice to her. He's like, listen, I'm not mad at you. We have different versions of what happened. He's
That's
like, I
when
think he
you're
says
like,
to her,
that's when you're 100% like, all right. When he goes, I'm not even mad. It's like, this guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm apologizing. If you call me back, I'll apologize to you again. And you're like, well, this guy sucks.
At this
Boom.
point,
Cuts
Seems a
to
very
him.
insincere apology, a drunken,
passed-
insincere apology.
Yeah. He passes out, cuts to the next morning. He goes
we
through
forgot.
the
We forgot to
people's-
mention he showed up. When he showed up 2 weeks later, the house was a mess, and
Yes.
I don't think we like he.
Well,
he
it
was
wasn't.
very,
It wasn't necessarily a mess. It was just
People's
that
shit was everywhere,
their
yeah.
shit was still there, so it was
It was
very
exactly
like
where they
it was
left it, yeah.
confusing. It was there's just some suitcases. It looks as if someone's staying there currently, and Tessa's car is parked out front as well.
Yeah.
And he even looks at that and like it's a series of what the fucks, which is kind of
Yeah,
the way
mentioned-
they use that is humorous.
we mentioned. We mentioned that he was talking to the company, but yeah, I feel like there was stuff still everywhere. Okay,
Yeah.
continue. Sorry,
No problem.
where were we?
Who's continuing? He's back. He's the next morning. I think he's all hungover. He's starting to puke, and then I think he starts looking around the house more. Then he finds the rope wall, and he opens
Yeah,
that. And
Well, he goes to
he
the basement. The door's open. I think he
Right.
sees the door open already.
Yeah. She propped the
no,
door
he
open.
he
No,
st-
she. Oh, he did that
oh
last night.
the upstairs door down to the basement is
Yeah.
already propped open. He's like, that was another one of his like, what the fuck? He
Well,
just
no.
pulls it
He saw that. He saw that when he first got into the house. He saw that it was
Right.
propped open, and he shut it. And then it's after he wakes up in the morning and sees the keys, and then realizes the door was open, and he kind of like leans back and looks at the door. And is like, "Oh, there might be someone still down there," and
someone
that's
might be
when
in
he
the
goes to
basement, yeah.
investigate. Yeah.
But the dungeon door is not open. He pulled
No,
Dungeon door, nah,
he-
he finds the rope.
See, the rope is now in plain view because she moved shit off the shelf to get to the rope, and now it's just like there. So he pulls the door, and
Okay.
he gets excited. This is the best part of the movie,
Yeah.
in my opinion. He gets excited because he thinks he can use the square footage as
Yeah,
more of a selling
Googles-
point
Uh,
for his house.
That rape room's now a new bedroom. Like,
Yeah,
He
so
goes in there. He
goes
sees
into
it.
the room, sees it, and
sees
he thinks
what's
nothing
going
of
on.
it.
Yeah,
Thinks nothing of it.
and then
Yeah.
immediately Googles, "Can I use underground rooms as square footage or whatever?"
yeah, gets a tape measure.
I love the, and I
And,
think
and he ties up his little
that-
shoes, puts on his pink shirt.
Yeah,
he yells down the stairs. Hey, bitch,
says to
ready
himself,
get fucked?"
says to himself,
Says
he says, "I'm a man. I'm
Yeah.
about to take care of this or whatever."
he says, "I'm the yeah exactly. I'm
Yeah.
a man."
And then he screams down the stairs, "All right, bitch, you're about to get fucked." And I was just like, "Oh my god, like Jesus
Some-
Christ."
The wording choices are very,
Yeah, I mean, perfect wording
very
choices.
specific,
That's
yeah.
the thing. That's the thing I've been realizing lately. It's like with screenplays, sometimes it's so on the nose, but it needs to be to get across the exact thing you're trying to do. It's like not only are we trying to tell you that this guy just raped this girl and doesn't give a fuck, but he screams, "All right, bitch, you're about to get fucked." Like that's so on those, but it works. It works really, really well. It's just it is
Yeah.
what it is.
because also at this point of the movie, it has basically shifted gears into a comedy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the,
he's
the
hilarious.
first act is a thriller,
Yeah.
suspense,
Yeah.
horror, and the
Love
second
story.
act is just a comedy of errors with this guy so far, and then
Yes.
it starts shifting into the
And-
horror comedy vibe because
Yes.
we know that what's going on, but like he's starts to measure these rooms, these fucked up rooms. He finds the basement door. He goes down with the measuring. Every cut is hilarious because like he finds a new fucked up thing and even says out loud, what the fuck?
Or oh
and then
damn, or
And
dude.
then just continues.
yeah.
then cuts to the measuring tape. It's almost like the
Yeah.
repetitive.
And that's like
Yeah.
a 25-foot measuring tape. And he has to keep going. He has to like go
Yeah.
and then continue and then like put it down again,
He's measuring through the cages and shit.
down the stairs.
Yeah, he
Oh
sees
my
the cage and
God.
he goes, "What the fuck is this?" And he just keeps going. I
Oh,
was
no,
like,
or like, oh
dude,
fuck, like
dude,
He
I
completely
would not-
disregards the kill room, the fucking
for
bed,
sure.
the bed camera.
Yeah,
You know.
for sure. For
So
sure.
is
Making
he
more
just
money.
keep going? He just keeps going until he sees the room, right?
Well,
sees the room
the
with
door
the-
opens and he gets even more excited when he goes down the other stairs. He's like, "More fucking
Yeah.
money for my square footage." Sees the fucking cages and then sees the room with
With
the
like
fucking
light coming
video
out of it.
playing
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
woman nursing her baby, which is that's another scene where up until this point, everything, even the fucking monster in the thing, is still pretty grounded because there's no explanation. But this is where you're like, where did this tape come from? Why is this light working? But it doesn't matter because it's just supposed to be
Well,
scary.
they explain
Yeah.
that in the
They
next.
do, and
in
it
the
helps.
next scenes.
Yeah, I like how they get to all that. Like the reveals are great.
Yes,
throughout.
it's written very well. So he sees this fucking room. It's this giant room with a little TV in the fucking center of it with blankets and cushions and all kinds of shit. And the best part of that scene is when he reacts to the smell. He goes, "Ugh," and you think to yourself, "Oh man, what must that smell like?" Because it's gotta be shitty, and like literally shit, piss, whatever the fuck you want to think is probably what it smells like.
And even
And-
the breastfeeding video, he finds gross. Like he
Yes,
looks at
for
that, and is
sure.
like, ew.
He's like, "What the fuck?" And then all of a sudden, his measuring tape gets pulled out of his hand from the
Oh, that's
darkness,
right.
and
Oh,
you
yeah.
hear and he's like, "What the fuck?" And
The
this is
tape
where
measure was a great device for fucking scary.
great device.
Yeah.
Yes. And then this is where the same Raimi shots start happening. The really close up wide shots of him freaking out. And there's even a great POV close up wide shot of like a video game of just the flashlight and the knife like this, and it's pretty great. And then he hears a little bit of a snarl, the same snarl that she heard when she was in the bedroom, and he starts to run because he's like, "Oh fuck!" Runs really fast, ends up falling into a fucking
Hole.
like a little hole that has a
Yeah.
fucking cage.
Well, he
on
does
top of
see
it.
her a little bit too, because you get the
Yes,
shot of him
yes,
looking
yes.
at like his flashlight cutting in and
yeah,
out
yeah.
Yeah, which
Does
is
she
terrifying.
come in
while she's
Terrifying.
while she's approaching. So you get just flashes of her being closer and closer and closer.
and then she goes
Yeah.
away, right?
Well, no, he
Well,
runs.
no, then he starts
He
running. I
runs.
There's
think, yeah.
okay.
falls into the hole, and this is when it cuts to her, the girl,
Yeah.
Tess, and she goes,
In the hole.
"What does she say to him?" She says to him,
She just quickly like tells him to like stop, because
she
that's
says
when
something,
cut,
yeah.
because
And
that's when they
yeah,
cut back
yep.
to the
She
the
says
pretty much
she's like shut up or hey, what's up? And then boom, cuts again to a wide shot of the house, and it's painted, the grass is green,
Yeah.
and right there you realize, okay, well, this is a long time
This
ago.
is back in time for
And
sure.
then the dude walks
it's
out.
also shot. I think these sequences in 4:3 as opposed to whatever.
Oh, okay.
wider
And it's like
screen.
really wide lenses. The whole scene is shot with
Right.
like a fucking wide lens, like
Yeah.
following this dude around.
It's 1980, I believe, because they say something about Reagan inheriting the worst economy that it's been in the country for like years or something. So we know the year is 1981 or 1980,
Shit,
whatever.
What was going on in Detroit in 1981?
The auto industry was still booming, but there was an influx of black people. So the white people weren't happy about that, because other areas in the world were the economy was going downhill, but Detroit was still strong. So a lot of more people were moving to Detroit at that area.
6, but you were pissed.
I wasn't alive yet. I
okay.
come in a couple. I come in a couple
Really?
years later.
Okay, cover you.
Now,
You were
I'm
born pissed.
I was. This was 1981. I was born in 85. You think I'm
Uh,
74 for some reason?
All right, so wide shots, 4:3. Creepy dude coming out of the house, pristine
Yeah.
house. The whole neighborhood is beautiful. We've seen
Yeah.
this neighborhood a few times now.
Very
We're
Tim
very
Burton
familiarized.
in like Edward Scissorhands kind of place.
Yeah. Yes, almost. Very pastel
The colors. This is the bright colors.
Yeah, this is like
yeah.
100%. Is that did you just say Scissorhands? That's
Yeah,
exactly,
Edward
exactly
Scissorhands,
what I'm thinking.
yeah.
They did a good job in this movie of familiarizing you with the neighborhood.
Yes.
Seeing the same houses over and over again, and inside that house too later on when he goes back inside the house. But
Yup.
first he goes
to the store.
to the store and he buys plastic sheets, He buys diapers.
Well, he says
He
to the woman
buys-
working in the store, "Where can I get some baby stuff? I'm having an at-home pregnancy." And then that's where you're like, "Oh, that's to me." It hit
Yeah.
me right away. I was like,
Oh, yeah, and she was
okay.
like, "Well, do you have
Where's
a
the
list of things?
midwife?
Did your midwife give you a list of
Yeah.
things?" And he goes, "I ain't got no
Just
midwife.
me."
Just
Just
Yeah.
me."
And then
it's
he
been
buys
me
all
for
that
a
shit,
while.
and then it's reassured when he goes into the parking lot from the store, and he gets in his car and he follows a young woman in her car to her house.
He
watches
buys
her
that
go.
tape though at the store.
That's
What
true.
tape?
The breastfeeding tape, the
breastfeeding
woman,
tape we were
the,
watching.
Oh,
the
is
lady
that
at the
what
store
that
hands
was?
hands her that because he starts just handing her stuff. That's one of the
Oh.
things.
Yeah.
she
Okay,
hands her.
see, then
It's real
what-
subtle, but
then what I
it's
said
there.
before about the why is that tape in there? It makes that's the answer
Exactly,
to
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because he's learning how to nurse essentially. It's
Yes,
like-
yes,
He's
yes.
trying to be a good daddy.
Yeah.
So he
Right.
follows this other young woman out of the parking lot in her car, drives up to her house, puts on a fucking work outfit, claims to be from the DWP, goes into her house, unlocks her bathroom window, and leaves. And that's when you're like, oh, this dude is fucking stealing women and impregnating them in his fucking basement and locking them in there. And you're like, all right, that's what crazy she animal bitch from hell's from. You're like,
Yeah.
damn,
This
Damn.
guy's great. And this
that's
is
crazy.
Richard
Great.
Drake.
I don't know about great. I mean, great character, but I don't know about great person.
I mean, the actor is.
Oh yeah, he
creep.
was. You know where
He
he's
just-
from? He was in that new Rob Zombie film 31. He's from that movie,
I've never seen that.
the third version of his Firefly trilogy. But he's in that. He's in a bunch of other things. He's in a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, menacing presence though for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he
Menacing.
looks like a fucking.
He's in an episode
scary
of The
fuck.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, he is. He is.
He's
yeah.
in Tremors, Shrieker Island.
Oh, shit.
What?
Good deal.
So
Good.
okay, so
He
that
plays a tremor.
happens.
So then he goes back to his house. Oh,
Back
he's
to
also
his
in Three
house.
from Hell. He's in all of.
That's what I just said.
Zombies.
3 from Hell, didn't I? Oh, that's what I meant
You
to say.
said
3 from
31.
Hell. I think he's in 31 too, which is
He
another
is.
movie. Yeah,
31.
that's what I know him from 31. That's the first time I saw him.
Is that a good movie?
No, it's terrible.
What? Would I like it? I do
I mean,
like
you
some
love
terrible
Rob.
Good
You
movies.
question.
do love Rob Zombie.
I love
so
Rob
maybe
Zombie.
You would.
I just love.
Yeah.
I love everything he does. I'll
Yeah,
watch
and
it.
you probably would like it.
I'll like
Rob
it.
Zombie peaked at Devil's Rejects. Let's be honest. He'll never make anything better than Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, but I'll
that was
still
a great
I'll
movie.
still watch his work. I like him as an artist.
Yeah, sure. I don't have nothing against Rob Zombie. So he goes
Sound like
back
you
into the house, and it's a wide shot of the house of him walking down the hall, and the house is just really unkept. And he opens the basement door, and you just hear a woman scream, and that's when you're reassured of all your thoughts about.
And
he's
in the
doing that shit.
hallway, like I was saying before about how they familiarize, we saw that hallway a bunch of times when they
Yep.
walked in. When
Yep.
Justin Long was apologizing to the girl on the phone, he
Yep.
was like in the long shot of that hallway.
Yep.
And then we see that hallway in the past, and we know exactly we're in the same house, we're in the same neighborhood. I thought they did a really good job at that. Because
Another thing
I could have been confused.
Another thing why I compare this to a Tarantino movie in a way is because Tarantino makes movies as a fan of wanting you to know things like that, of really stressing points of that. And this guy did that too. Like this guy, and why I say that is Tarantino's a really big fan of movies, making movies. And I get that from this director too. He's a really big fan of movies, and he wants to make like the best movie he can, knowing like the things that he should do, the things that he shouldn't do, the things that he loves, things he doesn't like. He really, it does seem like there's a really big fan of horror making a horror movie with this movie. And that's what I really like about it.
It's great.
Yeah.
And he does comedy too. And
Yeah,
a lot of people say
yeah.
comedy's harder than horror.
People say comedy's the hardest thing to do because making people laugh is hard because comedy is subjective. You know what I mean? Like not
And-
everything people think's funny is funny.
Exactly.
To
If you
you,
can do
at
that,
least.
maybe you can scare people, and also you can lighten the mood a little bit right before hitting them hard, which is
Yeah.
kind of what
Well,
he
just
does
think
a
about it.
lot.
Like it works in the dramatic way too. Like think of like Robin Williams or fucking Jim Carrey or fucking like George Carlin. Those guys were super funny dudes who played very, very great dramatic roles later in their careers. I mean, really, really great.
George Carlin.
Yeah, George Carlin was in a couple movies. He was in a couple Kevin Smith movies where he played like the straight guy. I think Jersey Girl and maybe it was Jersey Girl that I'm thinking of. He was really good in that though.
Oh, is that when he was the hitchhiker that went down on nuns?
No, that was
that's,
not. But
That's the
that's
bowling
pretty
movie.
funny.
That was
Yeah.
wasn't that Kingpin?
No, that was James
No,
Silent
that
Bob
was
Strike
Strike
Back.
Back.
Oh yeah. Isn't
He was
that-
also
okay.
in Dogma, which he was pretty funny in Dogma too.
Anyway,
Yeah, true. Anywho,
Anywho,
I
So,
wrote.
yeah,
so
where's your
we're-
cut to now?
At this point, I wrote, "This is a Sam Raimi meets Tim Burton meets James Wan
Yeah.
in the
I'm gonna go out
cinematography.
there and say this right now. This is better than any James Bond movie. Any one. It's better.
I agree. I think I like it more than any of his other. I mean,
Maybe not the first.
the first couple Conjurings were very good,
The
but
Yes,
Conjuring.
but
The
I
I
think-
like
Conjuring
these more.
is-
Yeah.
I
the
think
first
Saw.
Conjuring is
Maybe
great.
Saw 1 is better. Maybe
Saw.
Saw 1 is better. I'll give it that because Saw
Eh,
1.
I haven't liked
is-
this more than Saw.
Ooh,
I'll
I
put
don't know.
this
I
right
think
next to
Saw
Saw.
1 is one of the
I will
best
put this
movies
right
ever
next to
made.
Saw.
Saw,
Saw
I
1
think
is
this is
amazing.
just the depth of like the storytelling and the writing and everything like that. I just appreciate the way they told the story more.
I
than
agree
just
with you.
Saw
agree
was
with
just
you.
like a slasher body
Yeah,
horror movie.
but Saw 1 had one of the best endings in the history
Yeah.
of movies.
The
That
storytelling
was
of
it was
Saw
a great
1,
it was a great
epic.
ending. Right?
Yes. And I do think that if this movie wasn't told in the way it was told, it wouldn't have been as good because it would have been a very cliche of way of finding out how the shit was going down. And I think the way you find out how it happens is what makes this movie like good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really.
What, the
And
flashback?
also it not even just a flashback, but also the like cutting to Justin Long's character and seeing like how he got there. Like that's really cool way of doing it. And I also love how in the scenes where she is at the house and you know that something is wrong, and the fact that when Justin's Long's at the house and you also know something is wrong, the way that he builds the tension there is fucking great. Like really, really good. Like
Yeah.
because you're just like at any moment this could all go awry, and it doesn't until a certain point, but at any moment it could, and that's what I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the
Really
the structure is great. Like
Yeah.
the basic three like is clear cut 3 acts of this, and then there was
Yeah.
just that what we were just talking about. That little flashback was just almost like an exposition interlude to what was going on.
Yeah.
Because I think another thing we partly skipped is when he did go into that house, he unlocked the window. I don't know if we said that.
I said that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to him going home. He talks to his neighbor. His neighbors are leaving.
Oh, we didn't talk about that. Yeah.
His neighbors are
What did he
leaving.
say to his neighbors? I don't remember.
His neighbor's
his-
like, go ahead.
His neighbor's basically just like, oh, there's going to be a for sale sign here tomorrow. We're leaving.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
So
my
it's a lot
wife
of-
feels like the town's going to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at that point, in early 80s, that was language for, hey, a bunch of black people are moving to town, so we're getting out of here.
And
that,
then he
and
then
that guy's
he
like,
says,
"I'm going nowhere.
I ain't going nowhere. And,
And
that
then he goes inside,
yes.
opens the basement door, you hear a woman screaming.
Yup. And you know what that reminded me of? So you guys have seen True Detective, right? The first season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So in that season, they talk about how like when Katrina happened, that serial killer basically had a ball because it was kind of lawless. And I feel like that's why that guy stayed there too, because he realized that he can get away with doing this shit because
Yeah.
it's just going to be lawless. It's going to be like no one's going to be paying attention to this because people are leaving and the city's getting shitty. You know what I mean? So that reminded me of that. And that's fucking evil, man. That's evil as fuck.
So after that, then it does cut back
That was
to
such a good
our
series.
main characters in the cage. And I think this is another like slight genre shift. I think the acts are kind of set up with different kind of theme genres because the third act to me is like a gross out gore body horror kind of movie at the last part, because this is when we like find this woman is like trying to like feed them a baby bottle, and then
Yeah.
Tess is just like, just drink it, just give in, just submit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
then
Well,
he
she's been there
yeah.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and he's just like, fuck this, and then she's the woman straight rips him out of the cage and then tries to forcibly breastfeed him.
Brings him to the room with the tape and
Yeah,
basically forcibly breastfeeds him.
yeah,
And then what's her name? Tess escapes out of the hole.
so she's
sneaks
able to get
past
out.
the room, but then steps on the tape measure and she hears her.
Yeah, but she still escapes, and
Yeah.
this is when we find out that homeless guy,
Yeah.
when she's trying to get out of the basement window, he actually pulls her out and tells her what the fuck's going on.
But
like
that
this,
shot of the monster in the basement window looking at her as she's getting pulled out is absolutely like stuff that nightmares me. Like when you're a kid and you think of things under your bed, that is the shot you think
Yeah,
of.
titty
That is
troll.
the exact shot.
reminded me of Pennywise in the
Yes.
Soup Brain.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
hella
yes.
creepy.
Yes.
Hella
And that's
creepy.
why I go back to this guy. You can
Big
tell
fan.
is a fan of horror movies, and he just used all the things he loved. And dude, when he casted fucking Skarsgård, he was probably
Yeah.
so happy. He was probably like, "Oh my god,
Stoked.
this is so awesome! This is so awesome!"
Stoked.
Yeah,
And he did it. He used all these ways in a tasteful way too. They're not. He didn't trope it out. He used them. He tastefully took what parts from other movies and and
Yeah.
stole them in a good way.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, he definitely made this his own thing. Like this is a pretty. It's not that it's like an original fucking idea in a way, but he took an idea that's been done before and made it an original his idea, which is awesome. So yeah,
Or
so
way to set up
the homeless
expectations.
guy tells her that this woman has been around here for a long time. She comes out at night and wreaks havoc on the town and kills people and does whatever.
He's
and
basically
that,
like, you got to get out of here.
yeah, get it the fuck out of here. She's like, well, there's a guy under there. I got to go help him. He's like, listen, you got out. Feel lucky. Get the hell out of here. Don't be around here by dark. And then she goes and walks around and gets the cops. The cops eventually come with her, but
Yeah,
they don't believe
her.
her. They
Her
think
keys
she's
are
cracking.
her keys are in the house too,
Yeah.
so that's why she can't drive away. That's why she has to walk to find a phone. Calls the
Yep.
cops. They think she's just some crackhead, homeless
Yep.
lady, because she's all fucking haggard from living in a fucking basement hole for 2 weeks. So
Yep.
she looks all fucked up. She's like, I'm not a crackhead. I'm not crazy. There's a man in danger. I just escaped imprisonment. Like, you guys need to listen to me. And they're like, okay. The only thing we see at this house is you broke this window, lady. So no. So like, she's there again, stranded at this house.
Yep. And then the cops get a call of shots fired and they bounce.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's
she
when
breaks the window, goes in, gets her keys, is about to leave. Well, this is all right. So, okay. So, in my opinion, from this point till the end, I'm not saying that
Gets
the
a
movie's
little
not
wild.
as good, but I think it unravels a little bit with how tight it is. Because
I
I think the
agree.
whole water tower thing was kind of to do personally.
Yeah, the only thing I question about this movie was the
The last 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I even liked the very end, like the last 2 minutes, like I thought was great, but like, all right, so maybe not yet because, well, no, it is now. So
kind of
this
right
is
now
the
because
point.
the way she crashes into the, I would just fucking
Well,
drive
then
the fuck out of
the
there.
fucking bitch comes, the monster comes out of the house,
Yeah,
and then she rams her into the house, and at that point, I'm still like, okay, and
When
then
do we
she-
see the old man? When do we see?
well, that happens. Oh wait. Oh, so that happened
think
right
we
before
missed
Oh,
this.
this is
we
all
missed-
intercut. Yeah, that's right, because it's intercut.
Yes.
Now at this point, it's the two perspectives jumping back and forth.
Yeah. So
'Cause-
when Tess escapes and
Good point.
the monster hears her leave, she leaves Justin Long. Justin Long ventures deeper into the cave to try to get away, and he gets to a door, and the monster leaves him to go into the door, and that's when you're like, oh shit, like what the fuck's behind that door? Goes in the door, sees this fucking room, this old room of garbage and all this shit, and you realize that the old man is still alive in the bed, and this is where Justin Long
Hold up,
sees
but
like,
right when the monster leaves him, I think that's the shot I'm talking about, where he sees the monster come out of the darkness and then
You know, I think you're right.
disappear back.
no,
into the
not
darkness.
yet. That's not
No,
yet.
when does that
that's
happen?
When,
No,
that's when
that
he
does
goes
right
to the
before she
door.
goes to the room.
He
'cause
goes
she
to the
comes
door of
and
the
then goes
father,
out.
Yeah.
and then she stops.
Yeah.
And you realize right there, oh, even this monster doesn't want to go in that door for some reason. You know what I mean?
in.
Or,
Yeah.
but you also see the bell that's attached to the door that goes all the way down. So basically, this dude's just been ringing the bell for her when he needs something. But anyway, he goes into the room. You realize it's the old man, and he sees about 30 VHS tapes with different writings on them. One says like blonde lady, one says redhead lady, one says blind lady, one says like
Some
wouldn't stop
women's
screaming.
names, things
One
like that.
says like was not able to whatever. And then Justin Long puts a tape in, watches it, and he realizes that this old man has been
Gas
torturing.
Station Redhead.
Gas Station Redhead is the name of the tape. Yeah, you realize that this old man has been
Great movie.
kidnapping and torturing and raping and beating women for the last fucking 30 years. And
Even Justin Long's disgusted by it. He's just like, what
Yes.
the fuck is wrong with you?
yeah, he's like, damn, he's like, that's crazy. And then the old guy, he tells the old guy that he's gonna fucking get cops there. The old guy
Pulls a
shoots
gun out.
himself,
Yeah,
pulls a
pulls
gun,
a gun
shoots
out of the-
himself.
shoots himself.
And
She's
then
finally
Justin,
exposed.
and then that's I think when it cuts to the whole thing with her and the car, and she runs over the fucking monster because it jumps out of the house, and then she
Yeah.
goes back in, gets Justin Long.
So the monster does the monster. The monster's what's bringing people back to the house now.
now, yes,
Yeah.
now, yes, because the old guy's probably been in bed like that for like 10 years at least.
Yeah. The monster goes
so-
out at night and hunts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
also
and
goes
does that
out
shit.
at night.
That's why the homeless guy was like, yeah, you don't want to be around here at night because she comes out at night.
Jesus Christ.
And then, yeah,
The
that's
mother.
terrifying. I mean, that alone could be a fucking movie. Just her doing that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Titty
if he made a
trolls
prequel to
on
this
the
movie,
lamb.
the prequel should be that. Um,
Hey, troll.
So he goes back out. Well, he takes the gun, tries to leave. What's her name? Goes back in to try to find him. He shoots her, thinking she's the monster. And then they both get out of the house, and then you realize that the monster's not there. And she's like, well, we got to go to the fucking find this homeless dude. They find him. He says, come to my fucking place. She doesn't come there. It's the water tower or near the water tower. And then she goes in there and he explains to them, the homeless guy explains to him that that's her father and that he's been inbreeding them. And she's like inbred 3 generations. She's like he fucked her mom and then fucked her mom. And then she's the fucking
copy of a copy
product
of,
of that copy
So
of a
hot.
copy, as he puts it.
And
And then he
so
goes,
she's like 40 years old. So we don't know how long this guy's even been doing this, but when we saw him in 1981, like he was
Yeah.
clearly already doing it.
I think what it's supposed to be, in my opinion, is the baby he was getting diapers for is her. That's my take from it.
That does make sense
Yeah,
because
that-
it would have
that
been
to me
about
is
that would
what-
have been
is
a
what it
40-year
is.
difference. So that's a good call.
Yeah. And then she busts through the fucking, which is probably the worst part of this movie, when he's like, she never comes in here, and all of a sudden she busts through the wall. I hated that. That made me mad. I didn't like that because
I
this whole
think
time
that-
there was
I
none of that.
laughed.
See,
I
that's
laughed, but I
the
hated
genre
it.
shift to blame. I feel
Yeah,
like
this
the
is
third
when it-
act is when it went full Raimi to me.
This I agree.
Sure.
I agree. This went this is when everything just kind of went to shit. The whole
Well,
thing ends on a
everybody.
water tower.
So they bust in, rip off the homeless guy's arm, beats him to death with his own arm, which was fucking great. And then they run up the water tower. She runs up the water tower. Justin Long's like, we can't get out of here. There's no way we're getting out of this. And then he's like, well, there is one way. Because another thing we didn't talk about is
She got
the
shot.
monster.
She's just
The
cool.
monster just wants friends, honestly, and just wants a baby.
The
so
mother.
it
Let's call her
looks
the mother, not
the mother.
monster.
Yeah, the mother. She just
'Cause
wants.
she isn't the monster. He's
she
the
looks
monster.
she looks at Tess as her baby, and she wants to keep this baby. And this is where you start realizing that this monster, as Anthony just said, isn't really the villain of this movie. Like, she's just doing what she thinks is right. That tunnel is her house. That dude is her dad.
She's a
This
victim
is
of
her life.
circumstance.
Like, she's a fucking full blown. This is what she was born into. So she's not the monster. He throws Tess off the fucking water tower, and in the funniest shot of the movie, she dives off. When I was in the theater yesterday, every 13 people busted out laughing when that happened.
That shot's
Which is
so
fine.
funny.
Which is fine. That's fine.
That dive.
You see them on the ground. You think they're both dead. Justin Long goes down there, grabs the gun that fell. Tess is alive. Don't know how Tess is alive. That's the only part I don't like.
Somehow she falls onto her.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the dive would have. That's the whole physics.
I don't
the physics
understand that.
The
doesn't
titty
add up.
monster
But
cushioned her.
yeah,
Broke the
she-
fall.
Yeah, but the titty monster fell after her.
I know that's where the logic doesn't check out.
though.
Yeah,
I
'cause
guess.
she's in a diving fashion.
I guess.
Yeah, she
So
jumped.
titty
There was
monster-
thrust.
Titty monster wakes up, crushes Justin Justin Long's skull.
She and
then she goes to
Red
Tess.
Kings him like in
Yes. Goes to Tess and is like, baby. And
Papa.
she's like, Tess is like, I don't want to go back down there. She's like, come on, we're going to go back down there. She's like, I don't want to go back down there. Tess picks up the gun, shoots the monster. End of the movie.
Yeah. Great.
So
And
the
she
last
kinda
10
walks
minutes,
away. Yeah.
last 10 minutes, probably pretty terrible. First hour and 30, fucking golden.
Jay Golden.
Yeah.
I also read that
I still like
uh,
the end. I
love
not as
the
much
end.
of not the rest of I liked the rest of it, but
I think the
again
end
the genre
was-
shifts. It was fitting to what he was doing.
In
the director
in the
said
fashion,
that he originally wrote it for a church, and because they couldn't get a church, the DP was like, well, that fucking water tower is right there, and he was like, all right, we'll use the water tower.
Okay.
that's rad.
Yeah, it's working in what you have to do. You know what I mean? You have to make decisions, create
But
decisions
also
that-
in the vein of
based
him
off of
being
things.
a fan of movies, like how many old movies ended on like some tall tower or people were falling off
For
of?
sure.
Sure. I don't know. The whole movie was just so good and so tight and so refreshing, where the ending just wasn't refreshing or tight. You know what I mean? It was kind of just like, it kind of seemed a little rushed. And I'm not, look it, man, the movie was good enough to where that the ending doesn't even fucking matter, I guess. But I just wish it would have, you know what I wish
I
would
don't
have
think
happened?
it was rushed.
I wish-
it would have.
I
It
wish you
was
should've-
like a lot went down very quickly. That's all. I mean, it just
That's called
like,
rushing.
but like story wise, it made sense. She escaped. She was being
I-
chased. Like it was just it was
In
like,
my opinion, the movie should have ended with her getting drugged back down. That should have been the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
That should have been the end of the
I
fucking
think
movie.
I don't know because again going back to what Anthony's saying, it's like he's a film fan. Like I think the final girl is something iconic in horror
Sure.
films. Like
And she was black.
the living girl at the end. Yeah. So like her,
you know what I mean? A lot of
her
those
being a good
died at the
person
beginning.
throughout the movie is what kind of kept her alive. Right.
Sure. And she says I'm tough in the beginning. She's like, I'm tough. When
Yeah.
the director is like, you shouldn't be there. She's like, I'm cool, I'm tough. So I guess that works with it.
She's
I don't
tough.
know. It just that whole water tower thing, I was just like, what? Like when she jumps off, I was like, come on.
Would it have
But I
been
guess
better
that-
in a church?
but- Yes, because I don't think anything would have happened with them falling off. But I also, it does show like her maternal instinct of like, oh my God, my baby's falling. I have to save it. So maybe that does work. Maybe that does work. Maybe I'm
It
just
ma-
yeah, maybe
definitely-
he's
it
like
made
pushing
sense.
a
It made
crucifix onto her. It's gonna fall on her, and then she sacrifices herself.
It just felt silly.
didn't like the jump.
Within the
silly is the good word. Silly is
Yeah.
just a good word. Yeah, silly is a good word. But I
But
mean,
that's
it worked.
where
What
was
I
Conan?
But
love
think of
about
him
this
writing
movie-
that, and then what happens? I don't know. Maybe she dives off the water tower and like gets underneath her and breaks.
But this
her
is
fall.
the thing: if you're a parent, a mother especially, if your baby falls, you're probably jumping in, no matter where it is.
Yeah,
You're-
it
you're
made
probably
it
jumping
made
in.
sense that it worked
Yeah.
for what it was. What
It
was
did
doing.
work. I'm just being a hater, I guess.
But she she did survive like a fall and a gunshot wound.
She survived
Yeah.
a shit that
Yeah.
again, but that's
I
what
love
you
that.
know. You accept it in the
It's
space
a
it was
fucking
in.
movie, bro.
I
Just
love
accept
that.
it.
It's a
Whatever.
horror movie.
So but what you said is like it's a good enough movie, so fuck the ending. It's not fuck the ending, but I do agree with that. He gave you so much good things that you weren't expecting, like that this is just how it ends. That
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
cool with it. I'm
Yeah,
cool
me
with
too.
it.
Me too.
I really enjoyed the ride though. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
great.
A roller coaster.
a really good
Great.
ride for of a movie. I loved it.
This being this dude's first movie, technically, that's
Yeah.
a fucking achievement. This dude, not only will this dude probably make more horror movies, but this is the kind of person that goes on to make non-horror movies that are probably great too.
Yeah.
In
He
an
may
interview,
never make another horror
he
movie.
had a Batman script that he hopes to make one day.
That's
Not
cool.
even about
No.
Batman.
Yeah,
like a movie about Gotham
It was
City,
just
sort of.
set in Gotham City. I heard that
Oh.
too. How cool is that?
Yeah, he has a lot of cool ideas. I really enjoyed the couple
He said
interviews
he has
I
a
listened
script that
to
he
with this
likes
guy.
better than this one that's set in Gotham City that has nothing to do with Batman.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How cool is that? What other kind of city, like what other kind of world has been built so iconically that you could just set something else there and have like the movie be that vibe without it being
Sure.
Off the top
about
of
that,
my
like,
head, the only other,
Hogwarts.
off the top of my head would be the Blade Runner movies.
Well, wasn't that just future LA?
But there's a look, there's a feel. Like if
Right.
you were to set something in that time, you would recognize it. Or even
But, like, what new world built like the
I mean,
Lord of
just
the
Batman,
Rings,
dude. Batman
Lord-
always looks like that.
Lord
Or
of the
Lord of the Rings,
Rings,
sure.
Or
sure,
like
yeah.
Metropolis, maybe, but like
Yeah,
even,
Metropolis
but
is Superman
Gotham
City.
seems to be more, in
What was
my mind.
Metropolis?
Metropolis is
Superman.
where Batman or
Superman.
Superman lives currently,
Yeah.
but that doesn't have that. Like Gotham City is more of a character.
Yeah,
Like,
Gotham.
there's
If
a
you're
lot
gonna
of
name,
depth to Gotham City.
if
for
you're
sure.
gonna name superhero cities, Gotham City is the number
Yeah.
one that you would
Metropolis is
recognize.
such a vague,
Yeah.
like broad word. Gotham is
exactly.
very like character.
Gotham City. Yeah.
Gotham City, dope.
Gotham.
Well,
Well,
I think Hogwarts.
watch this
and
fucking
that one.
movie because it's a ride and everyone will enjoy it. Even if you're not a fan of horror movies, you will enjoy this movie because of how fun it is. It's just a fun fucking ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully
what
you
I really
watched it
did
before
like-
you listen to this, because
What I really did like about it is you really didn't know what was going to happen next. That's hard to do in a movie, especially a horror movie, because they've been done so many times before. And he took something and he really just made it his own, which is pretty great.
and it wasn't. You didn't. Yeah, I mean, you didn't know, but it just was. It was surprising. I wasn't even thinking like, other than the Skarsgård thing, of him
Yeah.
being the bad
Seemed like
guy.
he was the killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he wrote it, I think I don't know if we covered this. He said that he was just gonna write it as if he like once she's in the basement, he kills her.
He
Boom,
kills her,
that's the
yeah.
end of the movie.
How does he
but
kill her?
but that's only like a 45-minute movie. So he's like, I don't know how to continue this. Maybe we'll add a crazy giant naked lady comes
Yeah.
in and kills him.
Titty troll.
Yeah. Boom. Now we have more to go off of.
93 on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.6 on IMDb, and a 79 on what the fuck is Metacritic? Who gives a fuck about Metacritic? Pretty good. though.
Yeah. I give it like an 8.8.
Damn. That's pretty great. I think out of a
Great.
10, I'd give it a 7.7.
So was that?
Nah, you know what? I'm gonna go 7.5.
I'm gonna go
Wow.
7.9.
All right.
7.9.
All right.
7.999.
So
Fuck it.
Anthony,
Give it a
oh
solid
no, it's
8.
Jake's pick now. Jake, what's your next pick?
My pick is, I believe we are approaching this October.
Oh, is this our first Halloween pick?
So this will be our first Halloween
Ooh, what
pick.
is it? What is it?
FHP.
What is it?
Well, generally we'll work in the horror realms for Halloween, but this is slightly different because we just did this horror, but this is a ghostly story. It is a
God.
ghost story by David
A ghost
Lowery.
story? That's not a horror movie.
It's not a horror movie, but it's a ghost story.
It'll look good on.
You're
And-
gonna
on the
choose a
list.
fucking love story as your Halloween pick?
It's a
it's
love story.
It's a ghost story. It's not
a
a love
love
story.
story. Don't
No,
get me wrong.
It's about a
It's
lot
a-
of stuff.
It's a great movie, and it's probably one of the best independent films made the last 10 years, but it's not a Halloween movie.
A guy dressed in a ghost costume throughout half this movie. So it's definitely, in my mind, it's
Jake,
Halloween
Looks
adjacent.
ghostly.
Jake, it's not a Halloween movie, and if you say it is, you're a dum-dum.
A Ghost Story is a
Hallow- a
2017
Halloween-
American supernatural drama film.
Supernatural.
It's great. It's a great movie. It's,
See,
I can't wait. I can't wait
ghosts
for you to see it.
are topical when it comes to Halloween. The supernatural is topical when it comes to Halloween. That's why I'm calling it a Halloween movie.
Okay, that's fine.
This Halloween movie can be pretty.
What's
vague.
it
Like,
on?
Any horror movie can be called a Halloween movie too. So
Yeah, you're right, but this
Um,
isn't a horror movie.
this isn't a horror movie, but this is a ghost movie. It's a ghost story. Ghost
Okay.
stories are Halloween adjacent. So we're doing a ghost story.
I guess. What's it on?
It is. I think it's on Paramount. It's also
Yeah,
rentable on Prime.
Paramount Plus.
Okay.
All right. Check it out. Maybe we'll change it.
A ghost story.
It's a good movie. It's just not a Halloween pick, but it's fine.
It's a Halloween pick.
Well,
It is because you made it a Halloween pick, but it's not traditionally a
It's-
Halloween pick.
Look at it and you can be like, oh, I could see how this could be
It
Halloween.
looks ghostly.
Ghostly.
Anthony is
Ghost.
going to hate this movie, by the way.
I don't know.
I know.
It's an A24. So does somebody die like in a crazy death?
Yeah. Someone
Right.
dies.
Like, do they get their head chopped off? Do they get gas
You'll see.
masks? Like,
There
naked
is
dead
zero horror and zero violence in this movie.
Oh.
See, now you're just spoiling it.
I'm not spoiling
for
anything.
everybody.
I'm just saying. This
Well,
is
I
a
don't
love
want to
story.
go in thinking there's a lot of violence and horror and
And then not exactly. This is not that. This is Anthony.
This is a
not
ghost
a Halloween
story.
movie in any way, but we're watching it because Jake's a dumb.
It's a move. It's a story about ghosts and the supernatural. I don't know how that's not scary. Scary as fuck, dude.
It's not scary. All right, whatever.
Fuck,
It's a
dude.
good movie. It's a really good movie.
It's haunting.
Probably the director's best movie, to be honest.
It'll haunt you.
All right. There you go.
All right.
All
Watch
right.
it. Be square.